Well, hello there, Do Go On friends. It is me, Matt Stewart, letting you know that I've got a couple of big tours coming up in Australia and the UK. The Australian tour is happening this August 2025, going to Brisbane, Sydney, Newcastle, Adelaide and Hobart, and then over to the UK in September for Edinburgh, Cambridge, Birmingham, Manchester, Swansea and London. Holy moly, I'm so pumped up. Tickets are all on sale. Get them via mattstewartcomedy.com and I'll see you there.
Hey, it's Adam Grant from Work Life, a podcast from TED. This episode is brought to you by Freshworks. Freshworks believes that complexity is the enemy of efficiency. So stop wrestling with bloated, expensive service software that takes forever to implement an update, where ROI is someday, not today. You've been overcharged and underserved for way too long. Uncomplicate with Freshservice for IT and Freshdesk for customer support. And with Freshworks AI-assisted service software, you'll work smarter, not harder. Freshworks uncomplicates. Learn more at freshworks.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Go On. My name is Dave Warnicky and as always I'm here with Matt Stewart and Jess Perkins.
Hello.
Hey Dave, geez, it's good to be here with you and you. I'm talking to Jess there for the listeners and also Dave.
What about the listeners?
Oh, them as well, yeah.
Yes.
So good to be with them. I love being inside of your ear holes.
I mean, it was a bit crook, but it was about to be way crooker.
I'm getting it. Just picture, I'm in there tickling away. Yeah.
Is that the sound you make when you tickle?
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Yep, perfect. No notes.
Oh, Jess, you should explain for new listeners how the show works.
Oh my God. Firstly, hi, welcome, and you're welcome for that ear tickle we just gave you. Sorry about that.
First one's free.
So how that works.
Just a little taste.
How this show works is one of the three of us, Dave, Jess, and Matt. Hello. We go away, we research a topic, we tell the others all about it. The topics are often suggested to us by our fantastic listeners. We research it, we bring it back to the other two who listen very politely, who never interrupt. And sometimes they know it's quite a long report, and so they're going to kind of purposely hold back a little just so we can get it done.
No, well, don't. I mean, I told you this one is one of the longest ones I've ever written, but don't let that affect your enjoyment.
Oh, I've already switched off.
And the process.
And we always get onto the topic with a question. Matt, do you have a question for us?
That's true. I have a question, and it goes to Dave. Dave.
Okay.
How are you going with your editing process for your comedy? I'm just working in a plug here. This actually has nothing to do with the report.
How am I going with editing my stand-up special?
Yes.
It's going great. I'm watching it back. I'm not cringing at myself at all. I'm loving it. I'm loving watching 60 minutes of myself speaking into a microphone.
Yeah.
And I think other people will like it as it's going to be released on the Humdinger channel at the end of this month. As is yours, I believe, coincidentally.
That's right. Yeah, it's called Best Man. It's a show about, just sort of taking the piss out of weddings. Bit of fun. I went to some weddings and I thought they were bit of fun.
I got married in that period you're talking about.
Yes.
So I think if you watch it, you can kind of picture the source material.
Yeah.
But the Humdinger channel, which is the new name of the stupid old channel.
That's right. They've had a rebrand and we are honoured to be part of the first few shows going out on the YouTube channel there. Yes, a microphone did just hit me in the face and just laughed. But the microphone doesn't hit me in the face on my special because we edited those bits out. But yeah, so my show's called Even Hotter in Real Life, and it's just about having a really hot life.
Yeah, so if you haven't already, subscribe to the stupid old channel / the Humdinger channel on YouTube. And yeah, we're gonna have a little watch party.
Yeah, we're gonna have a premiere. It's a Saturday night, Saturday, July 26th, and you can watch both our specials back to back there as they go out, and it'll be like you're in the room.
Yeah,
exciting,
so exciting. All right, but here's my question to get us on a topic.
Okay.
I answered the question though, so I feel like I should get a point for
I
that.
think, if Bob's listening, Bob keeps scores.
Yeah.
That'll be up to him.
That's up to Bob.
I think Bob is entirely unimpeded, uninfluenced. What's the word I'm actually trying to say?
Unimpressed.
Unimpressed.
Mm-hmm.
Neutral.
Neutral.
He's
Unbiased.
unbiased. So he'll make that decision, Dave. I'm pretty sure Bob, though, you won't give him a point. Will you,
No,
Bob?
I don't think so.
Fair enough, Bob.
So
Honestly.
here is the actual question. Can you finish this famous Australian quote?
No.
Okay, Jess, I'll throw it open to you. Here's how it
Probably
begins.
not is the answer, is my answer.
Okay. Still leaves yourself a little window. I like
Now
that.
we're both back in.
Okay,
All right.
back in.
What is the charge?
Eating a meal.
A succulent Chinese meal?
Correct! That is correct. Today we're going to be telling the story of the succulent Chinese meal man.
No way.
It finally happened?
Yes.
We're here?
To be honest, I've put this up for the vote 3 times and it's won every time. The first time was about 3 years ago. Something happened and it wasn't able to be done. And then I'm like, but more info was coming out. At the time, they thought it was a different guy that first time. So I was probably lucky that I waited. And then the next time, Jess was away. And I then messaged all the patrons and I said, I kind of feel like this one Jess should be there for. And they agreed. I ended up instead doing Hepsetsut.
Which probably,
yes.
yeah, because you did that with 2 American podcasters who would not have had, maybe because that video is
Yeah,
global.
it's hard to know, but yeah.
feels like it's particularly strong here.
An Australian icon.
Yes.
That's
Who I
right.
don't
Wow.
really know. I've heard lots of different potential stories, so this is very exciting.
Well, that's it, yeah, because I think I remember that, we weren't sure who it was for a while, yeah.
Or even if the video was real.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
at one point reading a blog, someone saying this was actors and stuff.
Right.
I'm like, really?
Wow,
But anyway.
give them the gold logie. 'Cause
Yes.
It's an incredible performance.
So this was suggested by Fee Leslie from Running Stream, New South Wales, Libby Mason from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Kelly Clark from Malgam Ongup, Maylands on Wajak Noongar, Daniel Vickers from Orlando, Florida, Greta Piggott from Sydney, Australia, Sheehan from Perth, but lives in London, Beck Taylor from Kingsville, Victoria, and finally from LOL Radio and Colac, Joff.
Love you, Joff.
All right. So
Wow.
yeah, obviously quite a few people suggested it in different times, and like some of those people also suggested a long time ago, before a lot, he really came out, outed himself as himself. But I'll get to that later. Anyway, so let's go back to what made him famous. It was the 11th of October, 1991, when a man was arrested at a Chinese restaurant in Brisbane. The charge? Enjoying a meal. A succulent Chinese meal. No, it was actually credit card fraud.
They can't put that down as the charge.
Luckily for us, the arrest was captured on film and the video was uploaded to the internet. In 2019, Narman Zhao wrote for The Guardian that it was perhaps the preeminent Australian meme of the past 10 years. High praise indeed when you consider that his listicle on The Guardian also included Vegemite Ice Snack 2.0,
Yes.
the Just Waiting for a Mate guy, Johnny Depp's dogs Pistol and Boo, and of course Tony Abbott eating a raw onion. Prime Minister Tony Abbott, if international listeners.
He just bit it like an apple.
Yeah, it was psycho.
At a press conference.
Yeah.
He knew there were cameras there.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was proud to do it.
It was not even necessarily his oddest moment on camera.
No, it was one of them.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It was one of his
Yeah.
weird moments.
There was
on
that
camera.
one where he
The wink.
winked at John Fane, and another one
where
where he
he's-
just didn't talk at all. And he
Tony-
said,
Yeah.
Tony,
Tony, you're not saying
anything. And then he just says, nods a lot more, and then says, I gave you the answer you deserve. He's made a great point, but he
Yeah.
just looked like a weird... Because the whole time he's just nodding in silence.
I think he was thinking, like to me, that wasn't where he was always going. He's going,
Yeah.
oh, fuck, this is weird now.
What do I say? What do I say?
I need it. How do I salvage this?
Yeah. Tony,
Embarrassing.
I've got it.
you aren't saying anything. It's such a great anything for a journalist to say.
Well, especially because it was a radio interview, right? So I'd be aware as a radio presenter that after 6 seconds of silence, we're going to dead air.
I think so.
An emergency tape's kicking in. So you'd have to be like, Tony, you're not saying anything.
I picture that one being on TV, but maybe it wasn't. The wink one was definitely on radio because he thought there was no camera.
What a moron.
Because he was winking at, there was something.
Pretty crook.
Something crook, was it? Yeah. Anyway, he gave a wink like old school. A real, a locker room sort of wink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean.
I don't. I've never been in a locker room.
You've never been in a room?
They won't let me in.
Let me in.
You're really missing out.
Locked out.
I want to see.
What's happening in there? What are you doing in there? What's going on in there?
Tell me. Show me.
Tony, you're not saying anything.
All right, let's get into it. So, in his book Carnage, crime writer Mark Dapin does a great job describing the viral video, writing, "Democracy Manifests is a brief but memorable news clip of an indignant bear of a man in a striped short-sleeved shirt being manhandled into a Ford Falcon by 3 uniformed police officers and 2 detectives. They are outside the China Sea restaurant in Brisbane's Fortitude Valley." "You're under arrest," said the detective. "I'm under what?" demands the man, as if he has never heard anything so ridiculous. The police officers grab him by the arm and push him from behind as he roots himself to the pavement and addresses an unseen audience of TV news people. "Gentlemen," he proclaims magnificently, "this is Democracy Manifest." He will not be cowed by the men trying to force him in through the car door. "Have a look at that headlock here," he says to the TV camera. "See that chap over there? Suddenly, he explodes. "Get your hand off my penis!" he bellows. He points to the detective behind him. "This is the bloke who got me on the penis before," he says. "Why did you do this to me? For what reason? What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal?" Then, to an officer who can barely keep a grip on him, "Oh, that's a nice headlock, sir. Ah, yes. I see that you know your judo well." He turns his attention to another officer. "And you, sir," he asks, "are you waiting to receive my limp penis?" An officer grabs his legs. "How dare!" The others lift him up and feed him feet first into the car. "Get your hands off me," comes the demand. Finally, he allows himself to be apprehended, but not without a parting ta-ta and farewell to the camera. Dapin continues, "You have to watch the video for yourself to fully appreciate the theatrics. A generation of Australian millennials know the script by heart. He is a masterful, indomitable, bombastic, aggrieved, and funny. You can hear a TV news reporter sniggering in the background, and you get the sense that the police wished desperately they had not invited the media to witness this particular arrest."
I wonder why there was media there.
It's really interesting because
bizarre.
It's kind of disputed as to why. But yeah, the Channel 7 reporter, I'm going to quote from him in a second. He tells his version of it, how he came to be there. And yeah, I will be quoting a bit from Dapin's book. He's probably done by far the most research that I could find on his life.
And is it just a part of Carnage, the book, or is the whole book about him?
Well, it really, he is like his entryway into some pretty grisly stuff. Like I haven't even read through the whole book because a lot of the center chapters are about grisly murders, like quite grisly murders that he was sort of tangentially involved in because he'd been in prisons and he knew the person who knew the person, or he spent time. So he uses that as a window into these stories. But yeah, I'm only I'm quoting certain chapters that are appropriate to this episode, of course. But yeah, like for instance, our man, the Succulent Chinese Meal man, he
The Succulent Chinese man.
There's a couple of distinctions there, isn't there?
Yeah. But he was married a couple of times, but one of his wives was killed by an infamous serial killer.
Oh, wow.
Probably, but I haven't gone through those chapters. And
The
I'm
Succulent Chinese Meal man's wife was killed by a serial killer.
Or yeah, some sort of but in a real grisly sort of way as well. And
my God.
One of his kids died in quite a rough way, and so I'm not going to go into those sort of things too much. It's probably just not really the appropriate thing for it. I mean, I know we've done it in the past.
Yeah, but we've grown. We've grown and changed.
I mean, I think it was 2 months ago I did a story about a serial killer.
And we've grown. We've grown in those 2 months.
But for some reason, I don't know why, but this particular story, it feels like it's such a gear change. And I mean, there'll be some grim stuff, but I won't dwell on it too much. So yes, why did the police invite the media to film the arrest? Well, apparently they received a call saying that one of Australia's most wanted criminals was at the restaurant, and they called the media to make sure it was caught on camera. They're like, we're going to have this big arrest. There's a lot of inconsistencies in the story. Everyone's telling it slightly differently. Even that line itself, I've seen written 3 different ways. Australia's most wanted criminal, Queensland's most wanted criminal, and Victoria's most wanted criminal. But yeah, about the incident, the ABC's Lawrence Bull writes, he was treating it. This is the Succulent Chinese Meal man. He was treating a friend to lunch at one of his favourite local restaurants. He'd been there so many times that he'd often be offered a complimentary drink. A fraud investigator working for American Express.
Glass of water for free.
Yeah.
Sparkling.
They love me here.
Yeah, that's the kind of cloud I have in this establishment. Yeah, sparkling? No.
Absolutely not. I hate that shit.
Can you leave the jug? No.
No.
We'll top you up once.
We need to give that to other customers.
A fraud investigator working for American Express was tracking someone who had been paying the restaurant using stolen credit cards. Bull continues. The investigator called 000, which is our emergency.
911.
Yeah, or what's the English one?
999.
999.
Well, and some internationals are 112.
Well, there you go. Then perhaps pushing for a quick capture, he reported, this is the American Express investigator, he reported him as one of Queensland's most wanted. Police surrounded the restaurant, corralled the waiting media, and interrupted the lunch. He was as calm as anything, former police detective Adam Furman says of the arrest. Furman we'll talk about later. He's one of the plainclothes cops.
So watching on as the others wrestle him, or is he one of the...
He's there. Him and his plainclothes, well, plainclothes as in suit and tie detective cops, they were the 2 that had the he touched my penis, which I'll talk about towards the end, how they dealt with all of that. Because apparently one of them wrote an article eventually saying, I did not.
had to come out.
But there's footage of it when he clearly hasn't.
To make a statement.
Yeah. I'm sure it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek. But Furman says, he was happy to go with us. Well, as happy as you can be as you're being arrested. Until he saw all the media. And that's when he just went berserk. And apparently the dramatic performance ended as soon as they were out of sight of the cameras. Furman says, as soon as we drove away, he stopped and he said, that was fun.
That's really good.
At the other end, there was no fight getting him out of the car. Nothing. It was all put on for the cameras.
Which is their fault that the cameras were there. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Dapin spoke to the Channel 7 reporter who covered the story, Chris Reason, who I think you'd recognise him if you saw him. I'll show you a quick picture. He's like...
It's a good name for a TV journalist.
Yeah, really
Chris
good.
Reason.
Very trustworthy.
You'd know him from...
Maybe
not?
No, I don't.
I don't think I recognise him, but
Very vaguely familiar, but
No,
he just
I
sort of
guess-
looks like most middle-aged white men.
Well, yeah, probably you two, maybe, I don't know, probably not as engaged with journalism and that sort of stuff. I know you having done a journalism degree probably discounts what I've just said.
Worked at
but-
the ABC for 6 years.
Yeah, well, he's a commercial guy. As well.
Yeah, so
That's
I
what
wouldn't know him. I wouldn't know him.
You call that lamestream pap.
Correct.
Anyway, he's a multi-Walkley Award-winning journalist, also multi-Logie Award-winning.
Okay.
Really? Chris Reason, my gosh.
And he was just a 20-something-year-old rookie reporter at the time of the Democracy Manifest arrest.
Democracy Man Arrest?
Man.
That's good.
Is
Democracy
it?
Man arrest.
You know, I'm just trying.
That's actually really good.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, my patience. That, for listeners, I'm high-fiving
The air.
the air because neither of them took me up on it. And they're both, if you don't know, they're out of arm's reach in the studio.
Yeah, but we're within arm's reach of each other.
And I'm going to high-five you, Jess, for your fantastic pun. Democracy Man Arrest.
Yeah, well.
What, Democracy Man Arrest? Was that
Yeah.
were you implying that a little bit?
No,
too?
just like manifest, man arrest.
It was
Never
it's
has.
more of a pun manteau.
Yeah.
It was a pun mento.
Yeah, I love it.
So this is back to Dapin. When I rang Reason to ask him about the arrest, he told me that he had been working as a rookie TV reporter in Queensland in 1991 when he received information that the fraud squad were going to arrest a suspect. Those were the days, he said. This is so funny, the way he, a still working journalist, talks about the heyday of them being cops and journalists working together. Those were the days when police used to tip you off prior to raids and didn't go off and shoot it themselves and hand you the video. The great old days when you had contacts and you wined them and dined them, the cops, and you lived in their pockets and they lived in yours. And there was this great symbiotic relationship between crime reporters and police. So funny to like the great days when we wined and dined cops.
Yeah.
And what isn't famously Queensland had quite a problem with their police department in the 1980s.
Super corrupt. Yeah.
Anyway.
The good old days.
Good old days.
When I used to manipulate people into doing what I wanted to benefit me and only me.
Yeah, you know what journalists do? We make the news and then report on it.
Yeah.
We organise it with the cops, journalism. Anyway, he said they thought it was far bigger in the crime world than the man actually turned out to be, saying, this is the call he reckons he got. We're going to be hitting him at this restaurant. Get down here now. We're going to make an arrest. And the Channel 7 officers were close by to the restaurant, so he was able to arrive with a cameraman really quickly, as Reason recounts. We raced up, and there was this larger-than-life, physically strong guy coming out. There were 3 or 4 cops on top of him, and he was holding them at bay. They just couldn't get him into the back of this old police Falcon.
It is genuinely incredible to watch how hard it is for them just to get him to do anything.
Yeah.
He is, whilst giving a Shakespearean soliloquy.
Yeah.
Like, it is incredible the strength he must have.
They're really struggling.
Yeah.
He not only refused to go quietly, he wanted to go very noisily. He just had this stream of consciousness of brilliant one-liners, and a very serious story was suddenly very comical. The team took the tape back to the newsroom, and when the footage was shown, Reason continues, the news editor fell about laughing. Everybody came into the edit booth to have a look. The next day, someone rang up and said they'd stuffed it up. It wasn't the guy they thought it was. This guy was just a petty criminal. It was a case of mistaken identity, apparently. Before it went viral online, the arrest went viral around the Channel 7 news offices, as Reason remembers. For years afterwards, people would randomly shout in the newsroom, "Get your hand off my penis!"
That's so good.
"Let's go out for a succulent Chinese meal." It became a part of the lexicon, part of the culture. It was a full 18 years after the arrest, though, that the footage was uploaded to YouTube. And while the footage was from the Channel 7 report, it wasn't of the story that aired back in 91. Reason said, "The tape that went up on YouTube hasn't got my voice on. It's the original raw tape."
Is he a bit filthy about that?
Well, he's like...
So that could have been me. I was given some fantastic
I was
commentary.
Also being very quippy.
Yeah.
But he's also like, obviously they got the raw footage. Whoever put it up it was passed around inside the industry before being uploaded. For years after the video was uploaded, no one was sure who the man being arrested was, as the video didn't have his reporting of the incident. And even if it had, the man was going by a different alias at the time, so may not have helped anyway. Even in 2019, when The Guardian was calling it the Aussie meme of the decade, they weren't sure of his identity, calling him simply an incredibly dramatic man. The article says, this is back in 2019, the original video identifies the man as Paul Charles Dozer, a Hungarian-Australian chess master who was recorded by numerous newspapers in the 1980s as a prolific dine and dasher. But the article concedes, it's a good story, but there is no actual evidence that this video is of Dozer. And people who knew him say the man in the clip does not look or sound like him.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty good clue, I think.
That's the story I always read years and years ago.
The chess,
Chess man,
Hungarian chess master.
Who was famous for dining and dashing. And they've finally gotten him.
Yes, and I think they took 1 and 1 and got 4 sort of thing. You know, like that old saying goes. And, I reckon he does look a bit like him, but
Or you've looked up the Hungarian guy.
Yeah, but Dozer spoke with a Hungarian accent.
Yeah,
and clearly our man did not.
I love that it was like quoted around the Channel 7 office for ages. Because I think when I first saw it was probably right before one of our UK tours. So 2018 maybe. And you in particular, Dave, were quoting it a lot on that tour.
Every time I walk into a room, yes.
Yeah, but it was also every time you just wanted to say yes to a question. I'd be like, should we go get some food? Yes. Like it was, and I'm not saying that as a criticism. I loved every second of it.
It was a lot of fun.
The yes in particular makes me think of you now.
Yes.
Yes.
That's an underrated line because every element of the speech is brilliant.
Yes.
But that yes bit is probably the least quoted one.
Yeah, and then I see you know your judo well.
My favourite bit, I'm not even sure if it was part of the recap, but my absolute favourite bit is, but you just assured me that I could speak.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And then a guy replies something like, look, no one's assured you of anything.
Yeah. No one's assured you of anything, sir.
You just assured me.
I could speak. And they're like, no, he didn't. Just like in this, because he's got this beautiful big voice.
Yeah.
There's like tiny little Queenslander voice. No one's assured you of anything.
No, I didn't say nothing.
Yeah,
so
funny.
it says, just a minute. You just assured me that I could speak. Sit down inside the car. We're not assuring anything. You're under arrest. Look, I'm under what?
I'm under what?
I'm under what? Yeah, that was
so
it.
indignant.
I'm under what? Yeah, that's it. It's just every single line of it is so iconic.
It's brilliant.
It's so funny that even if like it did come out that it was just a sketch, I'd be like, well, that's the best thing that's ever been written.
Hats
like,
off. That's way funnier than
How do you come up
who
with it?
thought of that?
Yeah.
What kind of fucking
I know,
amazing genius
exactly.
thought of that? It's so funny.
Get them a TV show.
Even better, that's just straight off the top of a dome of a guy who's just like, I'm just going to fuck around because there's cameras here. And then gets in the car and behaves perfectly. So funny.
And he goes, all right, on to the station, boys.
Yeah. No, let's get this paperwork sorted out. No problem. Very funny stuff.
Yeah. And yeah, that Guardian article back in just 2019. So after we were already like overquoting it.
Yeah.
The article said it could be Dozer, it could be someone else, or a scripted skit. Even we're not sure. I think that's so funny to think about. The Times wrote of another theory. Apparently, it was thought he was John Bartlett, a former New South Wales politician. Which in turn inspired a tribute pop song by the satirist Brian Pern with the lyrics, John Bartlett ate a Chinese meal, a succulent Chinese meal.
That's beautiful.
Have you looked at, does John Bartlett look anywhere
good question.
like him? Or like a Hungarian chess grandmaster? They all look slightly alike.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I reckon a little bit.
The Mo was doing a bit of the heavy lifting, but yes.
Yeah, but similar.
I see it.
Oh, and then I guess I should show you Paul Dozer. It's funny, like some of the photos that come up are of the Succulent Chinese Meal guy.
That's really funny.
It's clearly not him, but you can see that there could be a resemblance.
If you had like one of those old school police lineups,
Yeah.
which one of these men was the man? That guy could be in the lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you could describe if the words of the description would be similar.
Yeah.
Sort of roundish face, reddish cheeks.
Yeah.
Silver, but you look at them side by side, like, it's not the same guy.
Yep.
That guy kind of looks like he looks like a Norm Macdonald character or something, which will help put the picture in people's minds.
It looks like Norm Macdonald if he was playing a professional 10-pin bowler.
Yeah. I think we got it. I think that if this becomes a series,
Is that anything? Dunno. Is that what everyone else was thinking?
Yeah, we're all thinking that.
We're all thinking
In
Norm
our-
Macdonald character, 10-pin bowl, yes?
sometimes I'll get stuck into doing a certain genre. We all do, like a certain genre of topics for a while. Maybe this will be my thing, and I'll do the background of different memes, and I can do the "Who do you think you are? I am."
Yeah.
I'd love to know his story, but I doubt it's as wild as
What's his
this
name?
guy's that I'm telling you about.
Weber is his name?
I
No idea. But let's find out next week
Yeah,
on
that's
Do Go
right.
On.
That is why I did it.
but equally just another great spurt of sort of nonsense, but sort of
Yeah.
like poetry.
Who do you think
and,
you are? I love that's great too.
so of Dozer, the Hungarian chessman, Dapin writes, from Hungary, he arrived in Australia in 1965. He was a creative, if not brilliant, chess player who won the New South Wales Chess Championship in 1977. He credited, this is not where I saw this going. He credited his chess skill to an implant placed into his body by what he called Hungarian military research
What?
during his time as an Eastern Bloc secret agent.
Okay.
Wild stuff.
Yeah.
Are they like sort of Morse coding him
King
how to play chess?
E5.
Yeah.
I don't think he was really sure about it. He wrote about it in his own words on his website, though, saying, quote, "The knowledge of the Hungarian research is extremely advanced. Since 1958, I did not have taken any medicine, painkiller, or sleeping pill. They have been replaced with harmonizing electromagnetic waves and hypnotic suggestions. The way of the communication is Budapest Research Center satellite and my implant. The researchers can dominate the implanted subject's mind and control their body. They can kill any of us who has the implant, or can make us mentally or physically ill, or good at chess."
Or go to sleep.
So,
I wouldn't mind a chip that I could then connect to my phone, and I could be like, okay, night time, off to sleep.
you turn the phone off and you turn off.
No,
And you
just
set
just
your
like
alarm when
it's
you wake back
Bluetooth.
up?
It's an app. I've got an app on my phone.
Oh, that you can turn your own chip off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I definitely trust.
I can go to sleep,
I trust that.
get a decent sleep. You know.
Yeah.
I thought you wanted to watch TikToks in your sleep.
Okay.
Now
Wow.
that's
Jess's
good.
ideas just changed in front of our
Productivity.
eyes.
I could get so much more TikToking done.
So much. You could be TikToking like 18 hours a day
Perfect.
instead of the 17 you're doing right now.
I could be doing it right now in my head.
We
and
wouldn't
you guys
know.
wouldn't know.
You'd just start
But I'd
laughing.
be having a much better time.
Yeah.
Have you watched any Murderbot? It's
No.
he like the Murderbot played by Skarsgård or whatever. He's doing that a lot. Well, the people he works with are talking, but he's watching. He's downloaded like all sorts of weird space dramas and stuff that he's watching in his mind's eye.
Does he do a bit of nodding to make it look like he's in part of the conversation, but really it's learning about black holes?
So yeah, not sure how true this implant story is.
Yeah.
Really?
I get the feeling maybe it's not fully true.
I believe it.
But if it is true, perhaps one of their secret goals was to make him a world-class dine and dasher. Because he was the best of the best.
Wow.
Really? That's pure
Dozer.
profit for the Hungarian government. They haven't paid for a meal in years.
Did anybody else's dads when you'd go out for dinner at a restaurant make a joke every single time about doing a runner?
No, I don't,
Just my dad?
I don't think so.
No, in what way? Like at the end when the bill comes, be like, "Oh, sorry," and then just pretend to run away.
No. He would just sort of he would be like, "Have you got good shoes on?"
Oh,
doing-
yeah.
we're doing
bit
a
of
runner,
fun.
you know?
That's fun.
Every time.
Yeah. It's like you had your own succulent Chinese man at home.
Don't you dare.
Do you think your dad had a chip? And was he good at chess?
I think okay at chess,
Okay.
but maybe a chip. Yeah, that makes sense.
I love the chip just makes him a massive tight ass.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
want to pay for a
really
meal.
good at chess and bad at paying my bill.
Seagulls love chips. Is there anything there? Because they're sort of
yeah.
scavengery and
Yeah.
oh, something.
Oh,
Oh.
is there something there?
Is there?
Worth exploring, I think. Yeah. Maybe on your own time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sick.
You come back and I got the red
Yeah, the
wool.
Yeah, the string.
string. No, I've gone for wool. Fuck. I stuffed it up.
Oh, yeah, thinking.
It's so thick.
And warm.
Can't see anything on there. The board's just knitted.
I learnt to knit.
I'm so deep into this now. I can't stop. I'm cross-stitching. I'm back-stitching. Three of those things.
My wife left me for this.
I'm needle nodding.
Yep. No, that's definitely a thing.
Yeah, that one's the thing. Dapin writes, by March 1990, Dozer was facing his 79th charge of refusing to pay for a restaurant meal.
So what was the charge?
Refusing to pay for a meal.
There you go.
He was then 50 years old, and he had enjoyed soup, oysters, fillet steak and salad, wine, dessert, cognac, and Campari at the gourmet Manor House restaurant in Balmain.
That's a lot.
That's too much.
I thought it was just, thought it was just soup at first. I was like, who cares?
Yeah,
Let him go.
the first couple of things, I was like, "What a dull lunch," or like, "Not for me."
But he's
thanks.
just said yes to everything.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, any digestives? Yeah, 3 cognacs.
Yeah.
Okay.
To help me digest.
No one ever, we don't even have the cognac. No one ever says yes ever. I've never had someone say yes.
Nobody's ever accepted a dessert wine.
It's crazy to think, but this is a highfalutin dinner. Back in 1990, the bill was $119.
Oh, 1990, what a year.
What a year. He called the police on himself, apparently. This is according to Dapin, alleging that he had held up the restaurant staff. This is what he said to the cops on the phone. He was drunk.
He had too many free cognacs.
Yeah. And then the manor house was stormed by armed officers who were coming to respond to what they thought was an armed robbery, but it wasn't. Armed officers from the tactical response group found him sitting at his table digesting his lunch. He said, quote, "My name is Paul Dozer. I pay for no meals. Take me away."
Was he hoping he would create some sort of distraction that he could run out of?
I don't know.
Paul, what's your plan here, buddy?
Paul, babe.
Paul, did the government tell you to do this for the chip?
It's got a... Have you guys seen The Princess Bride? It's got a bit of that.
Oh, Inigo Montoya.
My name is Inigo
Did you just
Montoya.
ask me if I have seen The Princess Bride?
Yeah, have
Never
you?
seen it. No,
No.
I've heard good
Really?
things.
I think
It's
you
really
would.
good.
Yeah,
It's
do you
great.
reckon?
It's a great flick.
I'll give it a go. Kidding, I fucking love The Princess Bride.
Because what's his line? Say the line again. What did he say?
My name is Paul Dozer. I pay for no meals. Take me away.
Now prepare to take me away.
Yeah.
Dozer subsequently informed a court that he had hoped to get his name in the Guinness Book of Records for criminal lunching.
Oh, wow. Okay, because you got to, with the Guinness, you got to document everything
Yeah.
really well. So
Yeah.
if you've got, if
But he
you've been
doesn't have
arrested,
receipts.
I know, but if it's so true, so true.
I was so proud of that. Did
That's
you see?
really good. But so,
You led
Dave,
with your
love
lip.
me.
but if he's got 79 arrests, confirmed.
Right.
According to Courtney Fry, writing for Pedestrian, by 1995, the renowned meal thief had achieved a self-proclaimed world record of 111 dine and dash convictions.
I know Courtney Fry. Sorry, just got excited. She works at Triple J.
Courtney, you listening right now?
Courtney.
Courtney?
Probably not.
No.
be
Why would
honest.
you? No. Sorry, I got confused. I just said your name.
Yeah.
She didn't just say my name.
No. Courtney.
Sorry, the Hungarian chip in my brain is playing up. But all good things must come to an end, and Jess's friend Courtney says, it was reported in the chess section of the Weekend Australian in 2003 that Mr. Dozer had passed away at age 63. While Dozer had a passing resemblance to the Democracy Manifest arrestee, it was not him. The lack of Hungarian accent in the viral video being the greatest clue. Also that he wasn't the same person.
Ah.
And you can tell that with your eyes as
That's
well as
the
your ears.
second greatest clue.
That's the second greatest clue.
And that's why detectives go through rigorous training to detect.
They're the best.
Yes.
They're the best of the best.
It's perhaps possible that he was still connected to the arrest, though. Maybe the case of mistaken identity wasn't just about the viral video, but it's possible it also occurred on the day of the arrest. It's possible that the man the American Express fraud investigator was after was Dozer and just happened to finger another man, a man we now know as Jack Carlson.
Was there footage of that?
The fingering?
You touch me with your finger. Did you see that, man?
This is the man who touched me on the penis.
So who was Jack Carlson? Well, he's gone by a few different names over the years, and we'll hear a bunch of them throughout this episode. But he was born Cecil George Edwards in Queensland in 1942.
What a great name.
Yeah.
Cecil George Edwards.
And he went by a bunch of great names. His childhood was rough, very, very grim childhood. He didn't have much of a relationship with his parents, and he was abused and mistreated in state-run boarding schools. According to Dapin, in February 1956, he was convicted of 9 charges. I've skipped over that, but it was, grim stuff in his childhood. Skipping past that, the system was bad.
Yeah.
According to Dapin, in February of 1956, he was convicted of 9 charges of stealing and 2 charges of willful destruction of property. So at this point, he's 13, 14. Less than a fortnight later, he was ordered to pay restitution on 2 more charges of destruction of property. And in November, he was convicted of destruction of property and stealing a car and was sent to Westbrook Farmhouse for Boys near Toowoomba, which was, also not very nice. Sadly, the abuse continued here. Physical, maybe sexual as well. Things were so bad, he decided to escape. He said that's the only option. And this is something he does a bit over his life, bit of an escape artist. Dapin writes, Carlson and his friends fled west at sunset. They believed they would not be caught as they could not be seen because they were running into the sun. But no, they captured me, said Carlson. Took me back. I didn't want to stay there. It was terrible. His punishment for escaping was being stripped naked and flogged with a leather strap. Real horrific stuff. Apparently, you couldn't make any... If you made a sound, you had to say, sir. Oh, sir.
Ugh.
It's just like everything about it is really...
Awful.
Yeah. Like some of the stuff from there and the place he was earlier as a child, like he wet the bed a bit, and their way of dealing with that was, you know, humiliation.
Yeah.
And I think they even made him sleep under the floor.
Because kids who suffer a lot of trauma
Yes.
wet the bed.
Yes. So make
traumatize them more.
So his whole childhood was pretty grim.
Yeah. Sounds awful.
At the age of 16, he was released. In Dapin's words, he was full of fury. On the outside, Carlson hung around with adult criminals. He became a bodgie. You familiar with that term?
No, what's a bodgie?
No.
I'd heard it before. This is according to Wiki. It was a youth subculture that existed in Australia and New Zealand in the 1950s, similar to the rocker culture in the UK or the greaser culture in the United States. Most bodgies rode motorbikes, but some had cars, many of which were embellished with accessories such as mag wheels and hot dog mufflers. Bodgies engaged in violence, but there was never any motive behind these acts. Males were called bodgies and females were called widgies. Bodgies and widgies.
So you're trying to look tough, but you're calling yourself a bodgie and a
bodgie.
widgie.
Yeah.
So, because the overseas people had greasers and rockers, and Australia had bodgies.
Bodgies.
It's not as cool, is it?
No.
And I think, like, with teddy boys in England, similar-ish as well, maybe? Which,
I don't know.
again, doesn't sound...
Teddy boys.
Teddy
yeah.
boys.
I'm like, great. Oh, no.
In May of 1959, so yeah, apparently in the book, Dapin says that he had, I can't remember the phrase, he has a lot of great phrasing in the book, but he said something about a magnificent queef. Queef? Quiff. Quaff.
Quiff.
Quaff. Quiff.
Which one? Describe what you were trying to say. Is it the hair
The
quiff?
high hair, yeah.
That's queef. I mean, I say as a person with a magnificent queef.
You got a beautiful
You're
queef.
very, I think it was bouffant even.
Oh, buffon.
I can't wait for the actuallys.
Yes, I've got a big queef, okay? It's beautiful.
We don't have to
I
argue
go to my
about it.
barber and I say, short back and sides, leave the queef.
Yeah. When he says my barber, that's the name of his auntie who gives him a queef. There's one for you.
No,
Thanks,
you.
Auntie Barbara.
We call her Barber.
One of those cute little childhood things.
Yeah, they're
My
fun.
cousin couldn't say Barbara.
Yes,
Called
we
her
call her Barber.
Barbara.
So I go to my barber.
It's stuck.
Which is Auntie Barbara. And I get a queef.
I mean, I have an auntie that we call Toe, so it is possible.
Toe?
Yeah.
Because you could say Toad. Full name. Thanks, Auntie Toad. So, in May 1959, he was done for stealing another car and again for theft later in the year. He and his mates then went on a crime spree with a slew of break-ins in small shops in South Queensland. Then, according to Dapin, they fled across the border to New South Wales where they adopted pseudonyms. Carlson, who had been going by the name of Chick Edwards, now called himself Mason. But their names could not hide their faces, and the Queensland coppers just came across the border, grabbed us in tweed heads, and took us back, said Carlson. Carlson was remanded in Brisbane jail, which is better known as Boggo Road. It's like their...
Oh, my God.
I love Australia.
It was
I
their
love us
sort of
so much.
brutal... It's like their Pentridge, basically.
So,
Yeah, right.
so the bodgie's been remanded at Boggo
It's
Road.
Bodgie and Boggo.
Honestly, how do other countries take us seriously at all?
I think Bodgie is like dodgy. Bodgie is that's
Yeah.
like it would like they didn't. I don't think it started them going we're bodgies.
No,
it was like
yeah.
and there was like a group of apparently brutal cops, a task force that just stamped out the bodgie subculture with brutality.
Wow.
Because you know like pearl clutchers blame bodgies for everything. You know because they were the youth.
Yeah.
It's weird. That has happened before. It's so funny how that happens every generation. Every generation then still does it to the next
I know,
generation.
and it's funny because we say that, but Gen X, man, they're
The problem is that every generation is worse
Gen
than the last.
Z.
Do you know
the
what I mean?
alphas. Oh,
Yeah.
those alphas.
It's just getting worse out there.
Jeez, you're sending You're sending it up and down.
Oh, 100%, but millennials are fine.
Peak of culture.
Oh, yeah.
Peak of society.
Future leaders. Gen Alpha, no hope.
Back to Dapin. So, yeah, he's in Boggo Road.
Which is a pretty grim place, sounds like it.
Yes. He says that the red brick walls, cheerfully tuck-pointed like a monstrous lolly shop, were infused with the pain of the prison's past as a place of execution.
Wow, that's quite poetic.
I like how Dapin describes the prison, quite poetically again, writing, Boggo Road was a shithole. It smelled of shit, and the prisoners were treated like shit, shat on by the warders as they had been shat on by the courts. There was no plumbing in the cells of the decayed and overcrowded Edwardian remand wing. Just shit tubs to be shared between shit men, then emptied at the dunny parade each morning. So no plumbing,
Shit
just a
into
bucket. And he was in a 3 to a cell, sharing one bucket. And the food wasn't good. And pretty quickly, they were so hungry, but they're like, this food is not right. But they were so hungry they had to eat. Got food poisoning.
Oh.
And, yeah.
Then you're shitting in a bucket.
Yeah, they're spewing shitting in a bucket. It got to the brim, but they're told, you only get one bucket a day. You can't clean it out till the dunny parade in the morning. Which I imagine is a lot of pomp and ceremony, the dunny parade.
Yeah.
Who's
There's
the
a
king
marching
of the...
band, I think. Yeah.
The king and the monarchs of the...
Well, I think it's sort of
Dunny
like
parade.
I think it's sort of like a good behavior thing. So if you're it's like getting employee of the week.
Yeah.
It's so you get to be the king of the Dunny parade.
Yeah.
It's actually very exciting.
Get a crown and scepter.
That's right.
Septic scepter. Nah.
That's horrific and very unhygienic.
So gross, but it, I mean...
Rife for infection.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you want... There's
Nah.
a bit more to the story? Skip it?
Probably.
Okay.
Do they just throw it through the window?
Yeah. Carlson was like going, please get us another bucket. We desperately need another bucket. And they said no. It's one tub per cell.
Why'd you ask?
I'm fascinated.
Carlson called him a filthy dog. So the warder got his senior officer to come down, also said, no, you can't have a clean bucket. So then Carlson threw the bucket at the cop.
Fair cop.
Yeah.
And then he said, can you imagine what they'd done to me? And Dapin says, wow, he said, as if remembering something he had seen happen to someone else. After he was beaten, Carlson was taken to solitary confinement in the Black Peter, a dungeon at the foot of a flight of stone steps sealed by a trapdoor. His cell was a narrow space between two thick walls flanked by steel doors. There was no interior light. It was as dark as fear. Another good line from Dapin.
That is good.
God, he's good.
He's a very good writer.
Dapin continues, Carlson slept on a mat and shat into a small bowl. Each day he was given only half a loaf of bread and a pannikin of water, so he soon could not shit at all. He was just a 17-year-old boy, alone and helpless.
Oh my God, I forgot that he's a teenager.
Yeah, crazy. Says he's alone and helpless, turning in on himself, buried alive, screaming. It's just like pitch black darkness. And at this point, he was still being held on remand. He hadn't even faced court yet for his charges. Hadn't been found guilty. Lawrence Bull interviewed Carlson for ABC's Earshot in 2022, and according to Bull, the Black Peter was the worst thing Jack had ever experienced. He'd bang on the doors and fight with the guards just so he could see the light for a few minutes while they bashed him. The man in the cell next to him had been there for months. He finally lost his mind and was hauled off to an asylum. Jack still has nightmares about the Black Peter. He still sleeps with the light on.
Oh, that's horrific.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What a way to treat a troubled kid. Yeah.
This is...
Or just a human being in general, obviously. But yeah, when it's a kid, you're like, this is fucked.
This will rehabilitate, I reckon.
Yeah, this will sort him out.
We'll knock it out of him.
Yeah, that's awful.
Back to Dapin. He was eventually allowed out to face his charges in court, but the prisoner who climbed up the stairs and through the jaws of the trapdoor was a changed person. He pleaded not guilty. I defended myself, he said. I kept making a swine of myself, cross-examining coppers and saying to the judge, yeah, go on, you're going to sentence me to jail. You've never been there. You don't know what you're sending me. You don't know where you're sending me. He was sentenced to 5 years hard labour.
Wow.
After being released, he married a woman named Monica, and in 1965 they had a child named Barbara.
My auntie.
Could have been your auntie. In Melbourne. Soon after, he was convicted of petty larceny and charged with housebreaking and possession of explosives. So the young family fled to Mackay, then Maryborough in Queensland. There he ran his own pest control business by day and burgled by night.
Oh.
When drinking heavily one day, he was picked up by the cops for drunken disorderly conduct and charged with using obscene language and resisting arrest. Unfortunately, that one wasn't caught on camera, but I imagine it would have been pretty good as well.
I bet it was also a bit of fun.
They took his fingerprints and then realised he was also wanted in Melbourne for his burglary, as well as for his some burglaries in Maryborough. After a 3-month stint at Boggo Road, he was set to face court in Maryborough. So he's sort of wanted in different jurisdictions for his crimes, and you've done your time there, now you're going to have to go face the court in Maryborough. And according to Dapin, police planned to transport him by rail from Brisbane to face court in Maryborough, handcuffed to another prisoner who was going north on a separate charge. And this is his second, I guess, and slightly more successful escape. The first one, he ran into the sun, and that didn't really work.
Okay.
This one, he says...
Run away from the sun.
He told Bull, I was pretending to be asleep, and the cop is opposite me. He's nodding off a bit as well. So I've just undone the handcuff with the prong of my belt, tippy-toed down the corridor, and leapt out of the bloody train. Apparently the handcuffs were a lot easier to pick back then, but...
You just jumped off a moving train?
Jumped off a moving train.
Wow.
Just like that, he'd escaped. And freedom felt good. From there, Carlson said, I was careful. I'd just stay in the bush for a day and have a night. It was so beautiful. The breeze, that air.
Just have a night.
I don't get it. Stay in the bush for a day and have a night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, make a night of it.
Yeah, let's have a night.
In the bush?
Yeah.
Okay.
For a day.
And then you have a night.
You'd have a night. It's like... It is like talking to a brick wall sometimes.
Beautiful and poetic, like a lolly shop. Whatever that quote was before.
Yeah. Oh, really cute brick roll. Brick roll.
Brick roll. You just got brick rolled. No, yeah, I don't really know what he means.
Okay,
either.
yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
But I think he just, yeah, he's talking.
Yeah.
He's talking, we're listening. Yeah, sure thing, whatever.
No, but he, like, these are just quotes from an interview. There's all, like, I heard all this, the audio of this.
Yeah.
So, you know, we don't all nail, or that is just like old-timey Aussie speak. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, not everybody speaks perfectly every single time they open their mouths.
No, not back then.
That would be crazy.
We do.
What? Oh my God, actually, yeah, now that I think about it. We've never fumbled.
I'm on the hottest streak of all time.
Yeah, yeah.
Thousands of years, never mucked up.
Well done.
But how about his line? It was so beautiful. The breeze, that air, freedom.
That's nice.
Dapin writes, according to a press report at the time, the escaped prisoner was Helmut Markson, a.k.a. Cecil George Edwards. It's not a bad Helmut Markson.
That's
That's pretty good.
Like an interesting, like,
Stands
very
out a bit.
memorable. Yeah, memorable.
Yeah, if I'm meeting a guy
alias.
called Helmet, I'm remembering that. And then when there's a prisoner on the loose named Helmet in the news, I'd be like, hang on, I met a Helmet. You know, go for Max.
Yeah, well, maybe
Dave.
once he's out, I think he probably
Matt.
changes it again.
Yeah, boring names.
Timothy Johnson.
Yes. Dime a dozen names.
Dime a dozen. Great name.
Dimer. Hello, I'm Dimer. Dime a dozen. Is that a good drag name, maybe?
I think so. I
Dime
like
a
it.
dozen?
Dimer.
Dime.
Yeah.
First name, just because that's cute.
Yeah. A dozen. I think normally one element is like a real name.
Yeah, Dime.
Dime.
Dime. I've never heard of a dime.
Beautiful.
Lovely name.
There you go.
Boy or girl.
Dapin continues, the Brisbane Criminal Investigation Bureau, CIB, warned the public that the fugitive was violent and could use a firearm, even though he wasn't and he didn't have one.
But he could use one.
Yeah.
If he had one and knew how to use it.
Yeah, that's like, it's just everything about it just seems like bullshit.
If he had
back
one
then.
and in the days he's been missing has met with someone who is qualified to train others in using firearms and has done so. So, you know, be wary.
And
He
even
could
though
have.
he's had no history at all of violence,
Yeah.
even in his arrests or when he's being held in prison,
Yep. He's very dangerous.
We know, we can tell.
Very violent, this
We
one.
can tell. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine someone who hasn't been violent all this time.
Poor.
They must be about to be really violent.
They've got violence pent up inside.
Yeah.
That's right.
They haven't been letting it out.
Oh, my goodness.
And we've treated him, we've been bashing the shit out of him.
Yeah.
So he knows what it looks like to be violent.
He's been bottling up a lot.
Yeah.
We've been saying, let it out, mate. Let out your violence.
Yeah, and he won't, but he will soon.
He's ready to explode.
Yeah, we've been saying things, singing off key, me, mo, mo. Me, mo, mo, me. Roadblocks were set up on the highway in and out of town, and every vehicle was checked. The suspect was described as having a fair complexion, green eyes, mole on the left side of his face, and a mop of fair brown hair.
Jess, do you have a mole on the left side of your face?
No.
Okay.
He was also still wanted in Melbourne for possession of explosives. In Sydney, he was met by his young family and scored work as a sales manager, saving enough money to co-found a photographic studio in Newtown.
Right. This is taking a real turn. So he's made it past the checkpoints, obviously.
Yeah, he got out and
He just had a night.
under a new name, had a night. Enjoyed the day, had a night.
And now, would you pose for the photo, please?
I think he just means he had a night, like he just chilled for the night.
Yeah.
That's what that means, right?
Yeah, probably.
That's how I read
But
it.
also, like, based on that, I do that every day.
You had a night?
I have a day and then I have a night.
Yeah,
Wow.
but that's the thing. To you, you're taking it for granted. He, a newly free man,
He's enjoying having a night.
Yeah, it's so nice just to have a night.
Whereas for me, it's like, it's default.
Yeah.
I'm so privileged.
Man, I just realised I'm having a night tonight.
What?
I often on record days, I got a gig after.
Yeah.
And it's always like, oh, I can't be fucked.
Yeah.
And I'm always glad when I'm there. But that bit in between, you might see me just pick up in pace a bit now. Now that I'm like, oh, I can go to bed straight after this.
Yeah, you're like, let's get out of here ASAP. And then, don't worry about that.
Yeah,
and,
blah,
then,
blah, blah.
and then basically,
Yeah.
you get the gist. And,
And,
all right, Patreon section. And, these three people, and thank you, goodbye.
And,
And,
So, yeah, he started a photographic studio in Newtown, but his life of crime also continued, and he was soon charged with obtaining credit by fraud. In September of 1966, he was sentenced to spend 9 months doing hard labour at Long Bay, meaning he would have missed seeing the Saints' one and only VFL AFL premiership.
I thought he'd missed it.
So
I missed it.
unlucky.
I missed it.
I heard 66 and thought, he's so engrossed in the
September
story.
66 as well. He's missed
He
the whole
just moved-
finals campaign, probably.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that poor guy.
And just to rub salt in the wounds, at the end of his sentence, he was sent to Melbourne. You know, like,
So
this
close.
is where you could have seen it.
Yeah, at least you could have, like, absorbed some of the feeling in the city.
yeah, because
Yeah.
the city comes alive.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we love it.
And when he was sent to Melbourne, he was held just up the road at Pentridge Prison on remand for earlier charges relating to safe cracking and burglary.
That's where you go to get your hair cut or a massage or see a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think about, like, who was here? Who sat in this chair?
Well, I think, the list of previous episodes who were held at Pentridge grows. Because now we've got Carlson, but
Yes.
Ned Kelly
Yep.
was held there for a bit. Chopper Reed. What was the greatest, what was her name? Australia's greatest imposter or whatever?
Oh, I have forgotten her name, but I remember the story.
She was held
She
there.
was there too. Wow.
Yes.
Should we buy Pentridge?
I think we should.
Yeah.
I really think we should.
Should we just
Should
buy
we just
Pentridge?
buy it?
Should we just
We
buy
can
it?
make an offer.
Yeah.
Like, we can't make them, or can we? You know what I mean? We've learned a bit about heavies.
Yeah, we're little bodgies over here.
Yeah. 3 bodgies. 3 bodgies in a row. Eh? We could be the bodgy smugglers. Say anything?
That's good stuff.
We should do a live podcast. It's the history of Pentridge, live from the cinema or something.
I'd love.
That's a great idea.
I would love to, do a live episode there. It is a beautiful building, and it is a very strange place to be, a place you go and
It's like a shopping
shop.
centre now. Yeah.
because it's a lot of, like, all that nastiness at Boggo Road. Similar stuff was happening at Pentridge.
Oh, yeah.
That was Melbourne's Boggo.
Yeah. To put it into context, you might understand. It's sort of Pentridge was Melbourne's Boggo.
Boggo.
There were at one point, and they've got, like, they do have, like, a little museum of the history there at Pentridge still, and, you know, they had this theory that that you'd reform them by not letting them talk or see. So when they were let out only 1 hour a day, 23 hours locked up solitary, everyone, and if they were out, they had hoods over their heads so they couldn't see or speak. Just
So what's the point of being out? Just a bit of fresh air.
Yeah, I guess to walk around. That's
That's
how I understood it anyway.
awful.
I'll figure it out better before I do the report.
Yeah. This one?
Yeah. Of his victims, Carlson told Bull, "We didn't rob the poor. We only robbed the scum that were robbing us, the banks and the other vermin."
Oh, yeah, those vermin. Those absolute dogs.
Some of it did sound like some of them was just small business owners. But anyway.
Yeah, but they were scum, those ones. We only targeted the scum.
At Pentridge, he met an American prisoner, telling I've written it as Dapin, telling Dapin, "I met a Yank who was up for forgeries and I befriended him. We used to pace up and down the remand yard together and I'd protect him. He ended up in the office. They often put crims who could type in the office, and all my records of escape he put aside somehow." So all the, which was a big favour to Carlson.
Really?
Because
so he altered his
record.
record.
Yeah, if you are known as a serial escapist, you're put in much worse conditions in prison.
2 hoods.
Double hood, yeah, double bag.
Oh my God.
So yeah, this was very fortunate for Carlson, because if they knew he was a serial bail jumper and escape artist, he would have ended up in a very tough prison division, as Dapin writes. Carlson would have expected to be transferred to H Division at Pentridge, where the discipline was barbaric and men with a history of escaping were shown a place they really needed to get away from. But instead, he was sent to McLeod Prison Farm, a penal complex on scrubby, insect-infested French Island, some 60 kilometres southeast of Melbourne. The thinly populated island was a natural prison, the sea making for a more effective barrier than any wall. Over the years, luckless prisoners had tried to escape by swimming the waters of Western Port Bay to the far shore. Carlson told Bull, "The governor called me in." This is when he arrived at the beachside penal colony farm. "He showed me all these photos of prisoners who tried to escape, eaten by sharks or drowned. 'You can't get away from here,' he said. 'Oh, well, I don't want to get away from here,' I said. 'It looks like a wonderful paradise.' But as soon as I got there's me mate Pete working the vegetable garden. And 2 days later, me and Pete, we took off."
I love it here. I'll never leave. Pete, let's get the fuck out of here.
I know,
I didn't know Pete was going to be here.
Thanks so much for having me. This is gorgeous, Pete. Let's get the fuck out of here. Pete, baby, let's go.
Dapin continues, "Carlson and his mate absconded late in the afternoon on the 12th of October 1967. They trekked through mangrove swamps, mud flats and marshland and camped out at night amid bushes by the beach. Had a night."
Do you reckon they're hoping to not miss the grand final again?
Yeah, I think that's probably
Second
part of it. They're like, what if they go back to back? Sadly, still waiting to go back to anything. Patrols were sent out after them. They had this 2-winged aeroplane flying along the beach every morning, looking for footprints. We'd make sure
Thank God they didn't use a 3-winged aeroplane.
That really got him for some reason.
It's such a funny thing. So anyway.
A 2-winged aeroplane.
Him being specific.
Yeah, thank God he's using the 1-winged aeroplane. Just went round in circles.
I see. You're thinking. You're not thinking of the 2 on each side.
Yeah, I'm thinking of there's 2 on one side and 1 on the other.
This is giving me deja vu to the Wright Brothers episode or something. I think we
got stuck on that.
I think we were similarly stupid there.
Yeah.
A biplane and a triplane.
So yeah, they were pretty smart about it. They knew that people were looking for footprints from above, so they'd walk while the tide was out at night, because in the morning the tide would come in before the plane came over and wash away their footprints. On the beach, the fugitives found drums which had once been used as buoys.
Boom, 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 boom. We just laid down a couple of 6/4/4 beats. That killed a couple of hours in the bush.
Dave, I mean, this is the first that the listeners will have heard it, but today we've been hanging out for like 5 hours.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've been
That's
warming
your
up for that.
third beatbox
Yeah.
break.
It's true.
I can't look at him right
I've been
now.
warming up to it.
I'm actually so mad at him.
Oh, come on.
You literally asked before we started recording, you asked Jess, do you think I could be a beatboxer? And Jess said, please don't, or something
Yeah.
like that.
No, I'm sure I in my mind, I'm a lot kinder than when you directly quote me. So it's interesting.
With all the, yeah.
It's interesting to see, how I'm perceived. I think I was probably saying like, oh, not right now.
Yeah.
Maybe practice at home.
That's not how it was. You didn't say anything when I started crying.
I think you should. I think what she was saying was leave something for the others. You know, you already do so much so well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
What do you get a man who
leave it.
It's got everything.
Yeah.
Beatbox.
A dash
Come on.
cam.
Razel needs this.
And that Australian guy from...
Oh, Joel Turner.
And Joel Turner, he needs
He
it.
needs
Let him have
this.
it.
You don't need it.
So
All
they're
right.
still just on French Island.
Sorry, and they found a drum. And obviously not a drum kit. I was having a bit of fun.
That's a bit of
there.
fun. You
That
know
was a
where
little
French
bit of fun.
Island is, though, right?
No, I need to look it up.
Yeah, because it rang a bell. So it's sort of in this little gap in Western Port Bay. So you've got like Balnarring and Dramana, like the Mornington Peninsula on this side, and then this is Phillip Island around here.
Yes, I do know, yes.
So almost any direction you go, you'd be hitting mainland. It's only accessible, I think, by ferry. But I mean, I'm not going to say they could swim for it, but like it's surrounded by other land. It sort of feels like a funny place to imprison people.
It is around, but it's not like a short swim. It's a...
No, God, no.
And they're like, I guess that's why people did try it a lot. And that's why they were like, check these photos. People die trying to escape. Don't be silly.
Don't try and swim.
Why would I be silly? I love it here. Laters.
Yeah.
Back to Dapin. So, yeah, they found these drums that had been used as buoys or buoys and other bits and pieces. They could have made up a makeshift raft.
But instead they were like, I just want to rock out.
Yeah.
Turn that one to a snare drum. This is a tom.
It's like, what?
Let's rock.
Let's do it.
His mate's like, "Wow, but shouldn't one of us play a different instrument?" He's like, "No, we're going to be the first all drum band."
Yeah. There's a gap in the market.
Yeah. And his
People
mate was
love
like,
drums.
There are already drumming bands that are all drums.
no.
Like,
All
we're gonna be
drum all the time.
We're going to be the first.
We're going to be the first. We're going to be great at it.
On French Island, maybe then. How about that? He's like looking for it. What about then? What if it say
First on
first drum
French
band,
Island.
all drum band in French Island? Is that? So yeah, they try to make up a makeshift raft. Carlson said, we lashed them together and away we went. We got a couple of 100 yards and it imploded. Luckily, it got back because I can't even swim. So
Oh my gosh.
he was stuffed if they couldn't just hold it together enough to get back onto land again. As in back to French Island. They didn't not all the way across. Carlson knew that the pilot of the plane would spot their wrecked raft and track their footprints leading to them from the debris. And then he said, so he's like, we're stuffed. But then we heard this boat putting. It seemed like it was going in circles, he said. The boat stopped a short distance from the coast.
Oh, so it's a one-winged boat.
One ruddered. One oared boat. Something about Indigo Montoya and the Six-Fingered Man. It's the one-winged boat. Prepare to die. At low tide, so they find this boat, and it just seems to be sat there, rocking in the waves at low tide the next morning. So they were able to get out to it by walking across the flats, assuming that the boat had just run out of fuel. Carlson says, I've gone out and leapt on, and there's this bloke asleep, a fisherman, a Scotsman. He said, what do you lads want? That's no good. Can you do it? What do you lads
No,
want?
I think you actually do that perfectly.
I feel like
I think it's just about confidence because,
what do you lads want?
yeah, absolutely no notes.
It's good because we do have quite a few Scottish listeners, and I think they're going to have enjoyed that.
They love being represented on this podcast.
That's right, yeah, and so accurately and so respectfully.
Well, because it's in my blood.
That's right.
You're
Stuart,
right.
if you don't know, is a Scottish name.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it would be inappropriate for me to try.
I also know that
Perkins is an English name.
I also know that Scottish people hate being called Scotch because it's not right.
I see.
So they'll enjoy this next line. So Carlson replies, we just want to go to the mainland. Can you take us over? And this is what Carlson told Bull. He took us across to the mainland. What a good man. What a good man. A Scotch man. He was a Scotch man.
Just repeating it there. A Scotchman. The reason I'm calling him a Scotchman, he was a Scotchman.
He loved Scotch, I think, is
Yes.
what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that was probably all it was.
You know.
There's such a beautiful thing
This is what he said. There's such a beautiful thing when you can escape from tyranny. God, I felt so good. His time on the outside didn't last too long, though.
Ah.
He stole a series of cars that took him from the Mornington Peninsula to Queanbeyan and then to Sydney. In Sydney, he continued his life of crime. Then, according to Bull, Jack and his mate got caught cruising Parramatta late at night with safe cracking tools, or safe breaking tools. On the 10th of January, Carlson and the other man, Peter Mound, who in Dapin's book sounds like he might have been a neo-Nazi, anyway, appeared at that court. He described he was in part, like he was, 22 and in this like saddest little breakaway Nazi group that had like 30 nationwide members, and he made it sound like it was, because it was pretty sad stuff.
Yeah.
It was pathetic as a kid.
It was, even when it's good, it's bad, but this was a bad version of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Doesn't get
You
much
can't
lower than
even,
that.
looking for a silver lining, you can't even be like, well, they're very organised.
Yeah, no, it's like...
Yeah.
Oh, it's
And apparently the leader of that chapter was real short. He's like, well, what's wrong with that? He was real defensive
very
about
defensive,
it.
yeah.
He's like, Hitler wasn't that tall either.
That's not the time. Yeah, that's not the example you want to use.
What are you?
Well, they probably do,
Yeah,
but I certainly don't.
Yeah.
If I was on a date with someone and hadn't said anything about their height, and they were going, well, Hitler wasn't very tall, I'd be like, I have diarrhea, and I must depart.
Yeah.
Bro, Hitler once had diarrhea, actually. Have you read his book?
That's
really
fascinating.
bringing everything back.
I'll look into that.
Mine shot. Mine shot. Mine shot.
That is mein Schatz. Oh, gosh.
Anyway, so that guy was a cunt, but
I don't know why I enjoyed that.
so but this leads to his next escape. As Dapin tells it, heading to court, Carlson delayed his entry a bit behind another prisoner. He took off his tie, unbuttoned the collar of his shirt, and hung his coat over his arm. And he'd lined the coat with some cash, apparently. So I guess he was ready to go on the run. And he looked relaxed and casual, as if he was at home in the court, as if, in fact, he was a detective. He told the other prisoners in the cell, I'm going to go in, and when you see me walk back through, yell out, you copper dog, you loaded me up. He was going to fake being a detective.
Oh, my God, you copper dog.
When Police Constable Kenneth Maker called for the next defendant, Carlson stepped in and asked, which court is Carlson meant to appear? And the constable said, Court 4. And Carlson then introduced himself as Detective Rogers from CIB. He then pretended one of the other prisoners was his prisoner and said, I've got to get him, I've got to take him out. While his cellmates cried, Detective scum. The copper said, where's the warrant? And Carlson said he became impatient with Maker's imprudence, the constable. I said, the warrants have gone round. Now come on. And the hapless constable opened the door.
Of course you would. We all know how full on he can be when he starts yelling, this guy.
Yeah.
And then they left.
He just walked out.
He walked out. Yeah. The guy was a Nazi, but he got out as well.
Oh, but so because he's leading, this is my prisoner. I've got to take him over there. And then they
Right.
both just legged it. That is pretty badass.
Yeah.
That apparently in interviews later in life, that was the one, like when he sort of resurfaced and his story started being told, that was the one he was most proud of. Because the whole reason Dapin's written this book about him was he was writing a book about prison escapes, and Carlson got onto him and said, I got to tell you my stories. I got some great stories about prison escapes.
Nice.
And Dapin hadn't seen the video at the time.
Oh, wow.
And then someone else said to him, another criminal who spent time in jail with Carlson said, this guy's the most interesting crim you'll ever talk to. You gotta check him out. Then he watched the video and he's like, oh, real fascinating. And then one step led to another, and there's now it's like murderers and stuff. He's like, I was not expecting it to go here.
Yeah, interesting.
Which means the book is a little, feels a little uneven or something.
He
but-
followed the story where the story went.
Journalist.
That's what I do.
Bull says Jack put on a real performance, a bit like the one outside the restaurant. He pretended to be a cop. Dapin continues, at the morning tea adjournment of the courts, I went around to check the two accused, said the arresting officer, and they were not there. Carlson stole a Morris Minor from Manly and drove it south to Heathcote, where they burgled a house. The car later ran out of petrol, so they abandoned it and walked until they stole a Holden. By the weekend, police had reported that the fugitives were believed to have armed themselves with a number of stolen guns from underworld friends, which wasn't true. Carlson and Mound were described as desperate men who would stop at nothing to ensure their freedom. This was a lightly coded message that the escapees would probably be shot if they resisted arrest.
Wow.
The initial plan was to hide in the bushland of the Royal National Park, south of Sydney, but they found the weather to be uncomfortably cold and wet, and after a day or two, Mound decided to break from the plan and head to a friend's place in suburban Sydney to hide out. Unfortunately for Carlson, Mound's friend was a low-level criminal and heroin addict himself, and the very next day, he was arrested, and then to make a deal with the cops, he sold out Carlson.
You dog.
So he's back in custody again. All of this, he's only 25.
Wow.
According to Dapin, he was badly beaten at the police station. They said, go and clean up. Wash that blood off your face in the bathroom. I turned around, this is Carlson, and one of the detectives was pointing a gun at me, and he fired it. I thought, Jesus Christ, he actually fired it, but it had a blank in it, and the cops all laughed. Carlson was often battered by police. You had to expect it, he said, especially when you tell them to go and get fucked, you dirty low dogs. I always yelled that sort of stuff at them.
Yeah, okay, yep.
At the ensuing trial, Carlson again represented himself. The police presented a transcript of a supposed confession by Carlson, which he had not signed. According to Dapin, cops at the time would habitually fabricate such confessions that for some reason or another the accused would refuse to sign. This was their way around the criminal world's code of silence. Apparently it was just very common. They'd go, they're not talking, we'll write up a confession, and then we'll have they go, oh, yeah, he said he wouldn't sign it in the end for some reason.
Fuck.
And then they could use that?
Yeah.
We've written down whatever we want.
Yeah.
He's refused to sign it, so now we're going to take it as evidence.
Because this is all on record, and Dapin was able to go through it, and he's, reading judge's transcript, who's just basically accepting it and telling the jury, who are you going to believe? These criminal scum? Or
these beautiful boys.
Yeah, my beautiful
in
coppers
blue.
here.
Look how beautiful and blue they are.
Oh my God, they're blue.
I love their beautiful blue boys.
During the trial, the prosecutor asked if he'd ever used false names, and Carlson admitted to a few, including Jack Edward Menchow, his real name, Cecil George Edwards, Helmut Markson, Peter Allen Marsh, and George A. Reese. Carlson implored the judge to employ common sense and reason. The police claim I have a bad record, he said. I'm experienced with police interrogation, that I've given false names and that I'm a liar. And they also come up and say that I willingly told the police and confessed as to all these things that I did not do. Why would I confess, having had all this experience with the police? They cannot have it both ways, can they? Carlson offered to prove to the judge in 10 minutes that it was usual for CIB records of interview to be fabricated. Unfortunately for Carlson, the judge was having none of it, saying, I'm not interested. I accept the police evidence. It is a sheer waste of time and I will not allow you to do it. So it is interesting. It's like, what's the point of them signing it if the signature, like the record's typed up and they just say, this is what he said. Why didn't he sign it? Oh, yeah, I don't know. Why didn't he sign it?
You know what they're like.
You know what they're like.
These crooks.
Yeah. Dapin continued. Throughout the trial, he raised logistical questions to discredit the idea that their interviews could have been conducted, transcribed, and read in the time claimed by the police. Carlson demanded to hear Boyder spell the word written. He also tried to have him take a typing test, but the judges aren't not allowing any of these things. And another real, seemingly obviously dodgy thing happens. Carlson asked to call another prisoner as a witness, but somehow that witness was injured on his way to court and was unable to appear, supposedly having injured himself.
Yes.
Which the judge bought this story, but clearly it was just the cops.
He ran into my knife.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. He did it 3 times.
I just quoted a musical at you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What music?
That's how it feels.
West
Chicago.
Side Charger? West Side Charger. That's not.
What?
West Side Story.
Yeah.
Why did I say West Side Charger? That was
I
weird.
don't know.
Oh, nice.
That was
Yeah.
really strange.
Yeah.
But you were indeed quoting Chicago.
Yes. You're now Googling West Side Charger just to try and justify your own little blip. Okay.
Yeah, it's not
It's not a thing?
a thing.
Nah.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was weird. Yeah. Very.
You're telling us.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me know, but I was aware.
But yeah.
That was weird.
It was a bit strange. But yeah, apparently the cop was there
Yeah.
when it happened, and they were sort of entangled, but he had
Yeah,
nothing to do with it
no.
when the witness fell back and smashed his head.
Fully grown adults are prone to just out of nowhere, just whoop.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate because that would have been really good for Carlson.
Yes. Dapin quotes his final address to the judge saying, "I do not consider myself a criminal in the normal sense of the word. I was a criminal in the past and I possessed all the weird quirks of character that go to make up such a person. During this unfortunate phase of my life, I never committed any act which I considered evil, nor am I a wild or vicious person." Carlson insisted that his criminal phase had ended with the birth of Barbara, Dave's auntie, which he said had brought about my complete awakening and my determination to stay out of trouble in the future. Mm-hmm. And he still says, he says he never committed another crime beyond the age of his early 20s. Carlson, others say he continued to commit crimes, but Carlson, who do you believe? Carlson was found guilty
The beautiful boys in blue.
of all charges and was sentenced to 8 years.
Wow.
Back in prison, now at Parramatta Jail, Carlson became friends with another inmate. I'm interested to know if you know this guy, Dave, Jim McNeil.
Jim McNeil.
So at this stage,
Not sure.
he was in jail for armed robbery, but he went on to be an award-winning playwright and seen as quite an important Australian writer.
Oh, I do know the story of someone who, whilst convicted, wrote, and then some well-known writers on the outside took interest in his work.
That's right. And that's Carlson's. They were best mates and cellmates.
Wow.
Really? And then possibly...
I'll tell you a bit about
Oh, you're
McNeil
gonna tell
now.
me?
Yeah. So
And he didn't marry... Did he marry someone
he
famous?
did, yes. And was very violent to her, and it ended pretty quickly. But so much grimness in this story.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Did he marry Robin Nevin?
Yeah, Robin Nevin. That's right.
Oh, yeah, great. Who's been the director of the MTC and is a great Australian actress or actor. And I've got to say that I was in a scene in the librarians with.
Amazing.
Whoa.
So let me say that.
Okay.
She apparently never talks about the short-lived marriage with McNevin.
Yeah.
McNeil.
There you
But
go.
anyway,
Wow.
yeah, like Carlson, McNeil had a brutal childhood filled with abuse and crime, sexual and physical abuse. According to Dapin, in 1957, then 22, McNeil married Valerie Fields, and the couple went on to have 6 children. According to McNeil, he was in prison every time a son or daughter was born, so he was in and out and in and out. He served sentences in Bendigo Jail, Pentridge, and on French Island. Another guy who was held at Pentridge, he spent time at prison with Ronald Ryan, the last man hanged in Australia. On Christmas Day, 1966, the Saints, just a couple of months after the Saints won that premiership.
A couple of months after. Oh.
Yeah. He and Valerie met another couple in the George Hotel in St Kilda to plan the robbery of the Olympic Hotel in Preston. And this would be the robbery, or this series of events would lead for him to be back in jail at Parramatta and for Carlson to meet him, which led to these plays being written. But anyway, so on the 14th of January 1967, McNeil and his mate Michael Jordan raided the pub. McNeil was arrested but jumped bail and fled with his family, first to Queensland, then to New South Wales. At the Royal Hotel in Springwood in the Blue Mountains, he and accomplice took $130 at gunpoint from the publican. Then McNeil stole a car and robbed a service station in Richmond. He was bailed up by a police constable who drew his service pistol. McNeil took a .22 rifle from under his coat and shot the officer in the left leg. When the man begged for his life, McNeil offered him an unsporting chance. He allowed the officer to run with a bullet in one leg while McNeil shot at him.
Oh.
He caught him again in the right buttock but the constable escaped to testify at McNeil's trial.
Wow.
McNeil later said that it was just his sense of humour. Shot a cop in the butt. It's like, oh, how accurate are you shooting though? Like,
yeah, that's exactly. You're aiming exactly
while
for
he's
the butt.
running away. I don't know.
I only meant to get the butt, and I got the butt.
I was a crack shot. So yeah, it was serving the ensuing sentence that Carlson met him. Dapin writes, in Parramatta Jail, however, McNeil wasn't a gangster-type bloke, according to Carlson. Even though he knew the gangsters and got on with them, he was too intelligent for that, Carlson said. On the other hand, said Carlson, he did shoot a copper in the arse.
Yeah,
So,
there's that.
You got the...
Yeah. We all contain multitudes, you know?
That's right.
Two wolves.
Yeah.
Only one of those wolves would shoot a copper in the arse.
Yeah.
Carlson told Bull about the origin of his friendship with McNeil, saying, when I got the 8 years, I went down to the wing and there was McNeil. He said, hey, wait, I've heard about you. He heard about my escape, pretending to be a detective and all that sort of stuff. And he said, come on, you can stay in my cell with me. And we've been best mates ever since. Is that how it works? You can choose your cellmates?
Yeah.
I assume, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think like there's like an orientation where you
Yeah,
get to
yeah.
like you do like a speed dating type thing.
Right.
Oh, a bit of like you buddy up a bit.
Yeah,
Have a bit
yeah.
of a trial period.
And then you go like, yeah, okay.
I could share
and
it.
you put in your preferences.
Right.
Yeah.
I couldn't share a bucket with this guy, but this guy, I'd love to share a bucket
I'd
with him.
love to watch this guy shit.
Yeah, I'd love that.
They, in jail, Carlson had the nickname the Hun, the beastly Hun. It's
Wow.
the big boy. Which is interesting. What's the Hun? Attila the Hun. Who was he? What are the Huns?
They're just like a...
what are they? Attila is a Hun. What is a Hun?
They're like a...
What are the Huns? Attila, what's he? What's a Hun?
Because I think my brain took the shortest route to an answer. And I always just kind of assumed Hungarian, but that's not right. I'm sure.
No, they're like they live out on the steppe.
Ah, yep.
Like, you know,
Out
like
the front.
yeah, there's the Mongolian people.
Yes,
they
the
live out on
Huns
the
are
steppe.
they're about there. The Huns
Yeah.
and the
It's a
Mongolians.
very wide plain, but yeah.
Attila and that guy that we talked about that time.
Yeah, that guy that we talked about that time.
Yeah, the big Mongolian guy.
Yep.
Someone? Can none of us remember this guy's name?
No.
The Mongolian guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, you did the report.
Yeah, I remember. I was part of Block.
Genghis.
There we go.
Genghis.
We
thanks.
wanted to see how long
Thanks,
we
friends. Yeah, you wanted to see. Listeners know your game. You're not saying anything, Dave. That's what happened.
I'll give you the answer you deserve.
Bull writes, so this is about McNeil and the Hun, as in McNeil and Carlson. Bull writes, the two men bonded over making foul-tasting alcohol in the cell's wash basin and also their shared histories. They had both grown up poor, even by the standards of their rough-and-tumble neighbourhoods. Adults had abused them physically and sexually, and they'd both stolen and scammed a few shillings for their families when they saw the chance. Carlson was known as a bit of a prison brewmaster, secretly making homebrew in his cell, telling Bull, Jim and I, we used to make a brew. We'd get some raisins and stuff from the cookhouse and some yeast from the bakehouse and make a quick 2-day brew. There's a record...
2-day brew, that can't be good.
No, bad. Well, he says it was pretty rank, and so he's like, sometimes it didn't really work, and he just had chronic cramps after drinking it. But anyway, there's a recording of Jim McNeil talking about it in an interview where he says, every night when he went to bed, he'd put the yeast and sugar in and the jam and the plug in the sink. I hope he did the plug first. And then he'd just turn the tap on and put the water in and go to sleep. And in the morning, this terrific brew would have fermented and we'd both put our head in it like two horses in a trough.
Lovely.
That's beautiful.
And the doors had opened before breakfast, right in the early morning, all out in the yard, and we'd both be blind as bats. That was the marvellous Hun.
Wow.
And they used to keep falling on the Hun, raiding him. And if they did, he'd pull out the plug. And all the evidence had run down the drain. The perfect crime. And it seems like this whole setup was, at least in part, the inspiration for McNeil's classic Australian play, The Old Familiar Juice. Now, depending on who you ask, Carlson was very involved in the writing of this, or at the very least, he was there in the two.
Really? He claims, like, when you say...
He doesn't claim it.
Oh, he does? He's not the...
Others claim it, but he did end up playing the main role in the initial versions of the play.
He does seem like an actor
Totally.
in the video we all know and love.
Bull writes, they put it on in prison and Carlson played a leading role. In jail, McNeil and Carlson were key members of the Resurgence Debating Society, a small group of prisoners who, as well as holding debates with uni students, would meet, write and paint. There's someone I don't really talk about, but he did a lot of painting in prison. Like prison guards would make deals with him, ask him to paint, presents for their partners in return for leniency or different benefits around the jail. Carlson told Bull, university debating teams would come out and we'd flog them. I'd say to the organiser, put a topic up there. Adolf Hitler's not a bad bloke. That sort of thing.
And his mate, the neo-Nazi, would come in and be like, I've got a few things to say about this. He wasn't actually that short.
And he's telling the story, he's like, and you'd have these university students arguing and saying, well, he killed like 6 million people and he done this and that. And then I'd go up there and say, well, wait a moment, that's all. Bull asked, why did you want to do that? And Carlson replied, just to stir him up. Bit weird, but...
Yep. He's bored.
It sounds like his argument was, wait a minute. Yep.
Just wait a minute.
You better believe it.
I rest my case.
The uni students were so shit scared that they were in the prison with the prisoners. So like,
apparently they did win a lot. David Marr, the journalist, was one of the uni students who debated them sometimes. In Dapin's book, you don't see it written anywhere else, but in Dapin's book, there's a few of these weird Hitler references. When Dapin asked him about his parents, he didn't want to talk about it. He said, I'll tell you their names, Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun.
Shit.
Which I think he was saying they were not very nice to him.
Yeah,
his dad was Adolf Hitler. How did he get to Australia?
Dave's very literal.
Like Dave suggested before, McNeil became a hit amongst the Australian art scene. This for The Age in 2012. Raymond Gill wrote, it was McNeil's status as an uneducated violent criminal with a talent for vividly capturing male behaviour, the Aussie vernacular and dramatic structure in his first prison play, The Chocolate Frog, which I think was rhyming slag for dirty dog or something like prison guards, written in Parramatta Jail in 1970, that led to his discovery by a young theatre set who championed his early release from prison. They included the directors Malcolm Robertson and Carrillo Gantner, who apparently he was one of the driving forces or the main driving force for the setup of the Malthouse Theatre in Melbourne. Oh. Actor Graham Blundell and playwright David Williamson, who described McNeil as a 1 in a million born writer. David Williamson's like one of Australia's
really famous,
most famous.
Still going.
In a letter of support for his early parole, Williamson wrote, quote, not only is he a playwright of extraordinary talent, he is a man who has a first-class mind which is obviously focused and matured during his years of incarceration to make him a considerable human being. Interestingly, the article briefly mentions Carlson, not by name, but as a henchman known as the Hun. Which is funny because this is 2012. So he's been mentioned like in these tiny little snippets, but no one's connecting the two things.
That's the famous guy from the meme video.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if is that just a coincidence that his nickname was the Hun and people also thought he was Hungarian chess master? Is that just me connecting dots that aren't there?
Yeah.
It's probably it's just a small coincidence that could be explained as a coincidence. The support of the arts community helped get him out of on parole 10 years early in October of 1974. When he was released, his plays were already being put on in every state in Australia. Like he'd become a big hit.
Wow.
He was awarded a literary grant by the Australian Council for the Arts, and in 1975 he won the Australian Writers Guild, the Augie Award, for the most outstanding script for his play How Does Your Garden Grow, which I think was a bit of an autobiographical one. Bull writes, McNeil's plays weren't subtle. They were screeds aimed at a society that arrested and tormented unfortunate men for petty crimes. The message is, look what you're doing to people, he told one interviewer. On radio and in the press, he would give didactic rants about the brutality of the justice system. But life on the outside was difficult for McNeil, and even more so for those close to him. He didn't handle the outside world well, and now having access to proper booze, like he didn't have to have it made in a sink, he was constantly drunk and violent, and this included with his family and friends, like including those artists who they've all got anecdotes of him. Like one of the women who ended up publishing his plays, she let him stay at their family home, and apparently one night she found him in the kitchen threatening people with a decanter, and she's like, well, apparently she was just very nonchalant about it though. She's like, all right, whatever you do, can you just not use that 200-year-old decanter?
Please take this sword, but put the decanter down.
But the decanter, that's important to me.
He
take my boy though.
Take the boy.
It means nothing.
So he was very quickly an outcast because he just burnt all his bridges by treating everyone horribly.
Right, but that stood up for him being like, someone who's so smart. He must be refined. He's not a beast.
And
he's an artist. Let him out. Let him free.
And he never, because he never wrote another play, I don't think. And he died at 47 of alcohol-related illness in 1982, living in a house for homeless men in Melbourne. So it was like basically, he died destitute, relatively young, 47.
Yeah.
He's just a boy.
Yeah. Whole life ahead of you.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go. So I hadn't heard of him or those plays, but I just thought it's kind of a fascinating story.
And that our man was there next to him.
Yeah. Well, right in sharing a cell with him.
Sharing the cell, sharing the trough.
And then, being the first act like in these famous plays, which is so interesting that why don't we all know that? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so much of this story is tragic, like just top to bottom, really. Back to Carlson. After his stint at Parramatta, he was sent back to Pentridge to do the time he owed for the Melbourne crimes. And there he met another inmate named Ray Mooney. Dapin spoke to Mooney, and this is one of the guys who suggests he was even more involved. Mooney believed that Carlson had actually co-authored the Old Familiar Juice. He definitely did, he insisted, because Jack told me. This was before Jimmy became famous, and it was all a big deal. If you read the Old Familiar Juice, it's Jack through and through. And I think he actually helped him in a few other things too. Jack had a genuine big hand in McNeil's writing. But all that Carlson would say to Dapin when he was asked about it was that he shared a cell with McNeil while McNeil wrote the play. He didn't take any credit for it. But it seems like he did tell this story. Dapin talks about how when he was a boy and still living with his parents, they visited a family friend's farm, and his cousin was a few years older than him, and Carlson's quite young. And Carlson's cousin set up the shed so that a piece of iron would fall from the door. And he goes, Carlson,
go
in there. And he got knocked out and this big chunk of metal fell on him, woke up in hospital, and the doctors asked what happened, and he told the story. And his dad got angry at him for ratting out his cousin. And he's like, so I never ratted out anyone again.
Far out.
Wow, but that's a classic prank.
Yeah.
Set up a big chunk of metal on the door.
Oh, it's a fantastic bit.
Hey, there's a president there for you.
Yeah.
Got him.
Watch this. This could give him serious damage.
So, like, that just makes me think, I'm like, is that even to the point where you're like, I'm not going to take any credit even though I don't know. In 1975, after spending most of his life in boys' homes, in jails, or on the run, at the age of 33, he was released from prison after doing his time. One of the few times he actually, did his full chunk and was out. Thinking back to that moment, he told Bull, that was beautiful, to have that freedom again, to get parole. You have to have a job, and they got me a job on the TV, doing things like pretending to be a police informer and all the things like that I'm not. Division 4.
Does he mean acting?
Yeah. Division 4, Cop Shop, Matlock Police, Homicide. These were things that were on the TV every week. So he had bit parts in all these TV shows.
So we've got to get him a job. What can he be? Actor. Yep.
I mean, he had been acting in these plays in prison for a few years. So
you've got a good look. Get in there.
Yeah, I reckon you could play criminal.
Yeah, you're a big man.
Yeah. Jim McNeil helped him get these acting gigs. Mainly bit parts in TV crime dramas. And I couldn't find any video clips, but Bull found clips and plays them on Earshot. You can hear a few clips of him acting in that episode of Earshot, which is pretty cool. Bull writes, on the outside, McNeil and Carlson remain close. The lovely bloke. I love him, McNeil told an interviewer around the same time. Carlson named his son Jim McNeil Carlson. And Carlson described them as best friends.
What did he name his son?
Jim McNeil Carlson.
Okay.
Just gave him first and second spots there.
Yeah.
Probably better than McNeil Jim. What about Neil McJim?
Oh, yep, there it is.
Carl Neil Jim McSon.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we got it actually in the end there.
You are very good.
Thank you so much. Good name for a boy or girl. Beautiful name, in fact.
Beautiful.
Carlson lost at least one of his acting jobs after being fired for drinking real booze in a pub scene and ending up quite drunk and making sure all the other actors, they were told not to, and he's like, don't be ridiculous. You don't you dare pour out that alcohol.
Just quietly topping him up.
Yeah, so he's like, we were having to play a bit slanted in this pub scene, but we were really, we were. And sadly, that's a bit of a through line in his life. He was an alcoholic, and it really just led to problems. And it's like self-medicating is what I assume it is in part. And, it just meant that he could never get things together. Even when he found his fame, you can see in the videos as he comes out, like his teeth go, like he's got less teeth with every appearance sort of thing. And it's all a bit sad. But should probably get bogged down. This is a comedy podcast after all. But yeah, if you want to hear, you can hear more about all sorts of grim stuff. Dapin's book, I love his writing, and I think it's good stuff.
But we're here to talk about the penis.
Yes, and I will take us back to the video. I mean, as tragic as a lot of his life was, everyone who were close to him loved him, and they said they never saw him angry. He was always happy. People loved him. So, I'm maybe taking a bit of a negative spin on it because he went through so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds full on what he's been. He's only in his mid-30s.
Yeah, exactly.
Lived an incredibly tough life, but interesting as well.
Totally. So, yeah, let's go back and sort of finish it where we began with the China Sea restaurant arrest. That's what we're all here for.
Yes, we love that.
We're here for democracy. And I love it when he do it for people. Basically, they're like, do the line. And there's videos of him, his last few years of life doing it a bit. And he rolled the ass so good. A democracy. So Dean Byron, who was one of the plainclothes cops, who was in the video at the time, he was a member of the Queensland Fraud Squad. And he got the reputation around his office that he was the one accused of touching Carlson on the penis, which led to him later writing a piece for The Monthly strenuously denying the allegation. He told Dapin that at the time of the arrest, his boss started calling him Hand Crank Harry, saying it was his little joke. And that sort of caught on. He would always say, "How you going, Hand Crank?"
Oh, my God.
Byron's Fraud Squad partner, Adam Furman, found the nickname unfair, telling Dapin, "I'm the one he says it to. If you look at the footage, he's looking at me."
I'm Hand Crank.
I should be Hand Crank.
Why aren't I getting called Hand Crank? He's taking my credit.
I think he was saying...
I was the one who touched him.
I sexually harassed that man.
Yeah, that's right. Where's my
I was the
article
one being
meeting?
accused of... Also, I didn't do it. I was strenuously denying it.
I should be the one denying it.
I deserve that nickname.
I'm Hand Crank.
That's funny. Did you read it, him saying it was unfair? You read it as Heath saying unfair to him. I read it as him saying it was unfair to his mate.
I read it as unfair to him.
Yeah, unfair. Well,
I want that nickname.
You calling him Hand Crank? He wasn't anywhere near his penis. He couldn't have touched it if he wanted
He
to.
wasn't in arm's length reach.
But I was right there if I wanted to.
If I wanted to, which I didn't, but I couldn't.
denied.
If I wanted to,
Very
I could have got my hand all over that penis.
But I should be the one being accused of it, so I can be the one strenuously denying it.
Get my article out there. Sign it, Hand Crank, because that's what people should be calling me.
Yeah.
Me.
This is the bloke who got me on the penis before. That's me. You're pointing to the wrong man.
The next chunk I'm going to read is from Carnage, and it paints a different picture of the arrest. This is from the perspective of Hand Crank and his mate Furman. The Hand Crank brothers.
The real Hand Crank.
Yeah, Hand Crank and the real Hand Crank. Because, I mean, especially they tell the story very differently as to the official story that you'll see mostly is that they called the media, but they're like, that is not what happened. So this is from Carnage. Byron told me, obviously from the point of view of Dapin, Byron told me that most things that I thought I knew about the Democracy Manifest video were untrue. On the day that Byron was called out to the China Sea, he had been in the Queensland Police for 5 years and the fraud squad for almost 2 years. He was dispatched with Furman, who remembered that an American Express investigator had followed Carlson into the restaurant in the belief that he was using a stolen card. I think that was the potential impetus for it getting to the media, said Byron, because it clearly wasn't from us. I mentioned that Chris Reason, the Walkley Award-winning journalist at 7 News, thought that the fraud squad had contacted the TV station. Nah, said Byron, no chance in a million years. That's utter balderdash, said Byron. It's rubbish. It's just so untrue, it's not funny. It's hard to even describe how crazy that idea is.
He doth protest too much.
Yeah.
We were at the office. Somebody rang and said, look, there's a problem down at the Valley. We need someone down there from the fraud squad. Me and my partner were the two youngest guys there, so that's probably why we were told to go down and deal with this, because no one ever wants to go to a job in the fraud squad. You don't see that sort of action. You're always just sitting there chasing up checks and evidence. You don't go to the some big thing that's happening like you might in the armed robbery squad or something. So we got the information.
It's so boring.
Fraud sucks.
Oh my God, so bored.
All I'm doing is looking at checks all
Which
day.
is like that does feel like that doesn't support his point. This wasn't one of those boring things, so maybe this is exactly why you would call the media.
You get excited.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm about to actually do something exciting. A big criminal.
Call the media. Mum.
Mum might see
Watch
me.
the telly tonight.
Handcrake's getting on TV.
Mum, call the media.
Yeah, that's what it turned out. So we got the information, jumped in the car, and went down there. The idea that we were planning something is just so crazy. It really,
Oh, you
like a
really
dog with a
do.
bone.
I do doth protest a little too
I
much.
should say Dapin is interviewing him at a bar. He'd bought him a beer, so he's saying all this over a beer as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, bit of the old liquid truth syrup.
Syrup.
Liquid truth syrup. I don't know. Is that
Okay.
near like something people say?
No.
No. Okay.
But they will
Yes.
in the future.
Did I just coin a term?
Yes.
Yeah,
liquid
liquid
truth
truth
syrup.
Truth serum
Probably.
and doesn't know liquid.
Nah.
Yeah.
But you might have been.
Because the serum.
I think you were conflating liquid luck
Yeah.
and truth serum.
Yeah.
And-
To
but
make a new better thing.
Liquid truth syrup.
Yeah, better than the sum of its parts.
God, that's
Agreed.
good.
Yeah. But he said, he asked Byron, do you think the American Express inspector maybe called the TV station? He said, I don't know why they'd particularly want that either. And he's like, and I can't imagine the restaurant guy rang them. Furman said that the American Express investigator had gone into the restaurant looking for a particular suspect with a particular card, and the owner had pointed at Carlson. Okay, so this is also where it goes from, Carlson's always said, it's just mistaken identity. Furman and Handcrank Harry, they're both like, nah, he was the guy we were after. And it all just fell apart. Which is just entirely different from how the story is mainly known. He says, Furman guessed that the investigator wanted an acute response and had therefore called 000 to tell them he had come upon one of Victoria's 10 most wanted. So, of course, all the uniformed coppers in the area swarmed on the place, and Channel 7 and Chris Reason turned up as well. But before the fraud squad detectives arrived, they'd let him go to the toilet and he'd gotten rid of the credit card. We couldn't find it, but we arrested him. His jaw dropped. He went, what? He calmly walked out to the car. Then as soon as he saw the media, that was when all hell broke loose. It was like Jekyll and Hyde, said Furman. When we got him into the car, he said, well, that was fun. We went on to the watch house with him, said Byron. Our two superintendent inspectors in the fraud squad were there. They didn't bother coming down to the watch house when you were arresting someone unless it was some kind of big deal. This is more of him saying, we got the right guy and this is why. But remember, the media the next day, Reason said, oh, we got a call saying it was mistaken identity.
Yeah.
Two entirely different stories. Byron used to record the details of his cases in a journal. Of Carlson, he wrote in his article in The Monthly, which he referred to as journal notes, that there was not much in there. A name, Cecil George Edwards, the date, what he was ultimately charged with, 19 counts of fraud and receiving stolen goods, and the amounts involved totaling some $70,000.
Oh, wow.
We had the complainants. We had the evidence. We had him cold up until we turned up for court the next day to find some dolt of a watch housekeeper had released him on overnight bail, which he then ran from. Carlson never showed up for his court appearance. Maybe he did talk his way out of the watch house. They're not sure how he even got out. Either he talked his way out.
Pretended he was a cop.
Yeah.
I've been locked up in here with all these criminals. Let me out, young man.
Absolutely absurd.
And this story also makes me go, no, what? Like he'd been viral for years before he came out, and he sort of said he just didn't know he was viral. But that seems kind of unlikely.
That no one's ever gone.
If he was like, I don't, I'm still could be on the hook for this.
Yeah, that's right. Had to lay low for years.
But yeah, they sort of suggest they don't know if he talked his way out or maybe got help from other police. Dapin says, after all, the check frauds had always relied on corrupt cops, so maybe he was, like he's just throwing shit all. He doesn't know. Meanwhile, the clean skins at the fraud squad discovered Carlson was wanted for other alleged offences. I think it was maybe counterfeiting, said Byron. For 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, we had to down tools and focus on him. Someone from the drug squad said that they had him trying to sell some stolen property to a bloke who was an agent. We wanted to set something up there, but we weren't allowed to because it broached the ongoing drug investigation, which was considered to be a lot more important than our shitty fraud. These guys, I don't think they were real happy with their
Really
work.
putting fraud down, isn't he?
So we were stymied there, and then I got a much bigger job given to me, and that pretty much took over my life. I didn't think about it much after that, other than to keep wondering why this guy had never been caught. He ended up being a university lecturer, and he, at one class, showed the video and said, that's me. And then under one of the videos, someone commented, hey, my lecturer was one of those cops. And that's how, Dapin, I think, got onto him via that.
Interesting.
Wow.
Always read the comments.
Yes.
It's always productive.
Yeah, that's what we always say. Incredibly, and sometimes I tire of using that word in relation to Carlson, it seemed that Carlson was still technically on the run. Although, of course, his only crime may have been to have eaten a succulent Chinese meal. From the day we arrested him, and he didn't show at court, he would have had a bench warrant out for him. That would be sitting on your head for life until you came to light, and then you'd have to deal with it. He's never had to deal with it. He never would have been actually prosecuted for those offences. So they're like, he should have still been on the hook for these charges that he's denying were even there. And most of the media reports also said it was a mistaken identity. So it's really hard to pin down what's happened there.
Yeah.
But yeah, very different account of the story than most versions you'll find online. Anyway, after the video went viral in the 2010s, he first resurfaced publicly on a short brown cardigan video in June of 2019.
Cardigan?
Brown cardigan? What did I say?
Cardigan.
Oh, good.
I was just double checking it was brown cardigan. I, in that case, for once, I wasn't mocking you. But if you'd like me to, I will.
No, please. It's just a really short video where some guys recognize him in a pub.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
And he's like, oh, you're rolling now. And he goes, yeah, what do you want me to say? And he says a couple of lines, democracy manifest and don't touch me on the penis, that sort of thing. And he says, oh, that's great. And that's the video. And people are like, holy shit. Everyone was like, at that point, who was he? No one really knew who he was. Assumed he was probably dead. Just didn't know.
Yeah.
Should we say that Brown Cardigan is like an Australian Instagram channel?
Yeah. We should say that. That's true, because otherwise they'd be like, what?
What the hell is that? Yeah, so it just popped up. I remember the video too, and people were debating, is that actually him? And some people were like, he looks a bit different now, but that is definitely the voice.
Clearly.
Is he just doing a really good impersonation? But yeah, I remember at the time.
And then in March of 2020, Sportsbet, a gambling company, got him to appear in a promotional video where he says, I am Mr. Democracy Manifest, not some Hungarian chess player. And he shows some of his paintings and stuff. And he's like, he really was like I think he got a payout for some of his abuses early in his life. And when that cash ran out, maybe that was part of the reason. He's like, I need some cash. So he yeah, selling paintings and doing other bits and pieces. That same day as the sports bet ad, the Aussie band The Chats released a video clip which he was featured in for their song Dine and Dash. This all seemed to be to help. This all seemed to be set up to help publicise the launch of the website MrDemocracyManifest.com.au, which sold his official wine, Get Your Hands Off My Pinot, as well as some T-shirts. But maybe let's give the final word on the arrest to Carlson himself, as Dapin writes, I asked him what he'd been doing in the restaurant when the police came to arrest him. Nothing, he said. They thought I was someone else. Was he really just eating a Chinese meal, I asked? Yeah, he said. I was sitting in the restaurant. I've been there a dozen times. It was my favourite restaurant. He would not admit to using a stolen credit card. Nevertheless, he explained that he had played it up for the TV cameras in the hope that the police would think that he was mentally ill, because he would then be sent to a hospital rather than a jail, and it would have been easier to escape from a hospital, he said. And if anyone knew that, it would be Jack Carlson.
I don't know. Sometimes you got to have swipes to get out.
Yeah, that's
man.
true.
Jeez,
Oh, yeah.
And your
Louise.
butt's hanging out the back.
Your butt's hanging out and you're like, where are my pants?
Yeah. His obituary in the Times says he did pass away, if you didn't know, last year. His obituary in the Times says, in later years, Carlson lived off the grid with a big, energetic dog in a rundown shell of a building off a dirt track not far from Lake Wivenhoe in southeast Queensland. Don't know if that's how you pronounce Wivenhoe, but I'd like to think it is. But of course, all good things must come to an end. And Jack Carlson, criminal and internet sensation, died from systemic inflammatory response syndrome on the 7th of August, 2024, aged 82. 2 months prior to his death, he went through chemo and a lot of different things. But yeah, his health really did decline over the last few years. 2 months prior to his death, he was reunited with another one of the cops from the famous arrest, a guy called Stole Watt.
Stole what?
Oh my God.
Not
Oh
to
my
do with-
God.
I didn't steal anything. I'm a cop.
Stole what?
Stole what? Amigo?
That's incredible.
I did not put that together until...
It happens all the time when you're writing.
Yeah, because it's
You don't
spelled
think about it.
Stolwatt.
When you say it out loud, that happens all the time. I'm reading a name and I go, I didn't realise that was an incredible name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where then you're like, all right, well, we're going to spend a bit of time on this, I guess.
No, here we go.
But yeah, Stole Watt.
Stole what?
Stole what? He was there at the arrest, and they reunited a couple of months before his death for a media spot to announce
Wow.
the making of a television documentary directed by a guy called Heath Davis about his troubled life, which I don't believe has come out yet, but it's meant to be coming out this year. And it's called The Man Who Ate a Succulent Chinese Meal. They returned to the Chinese Sea restaurant, which unfortunately has moved locations, but apparently the business still exists. They reenacted the events of that day. But he was getting pretty frail, so he wasn't able to put up quite as big of a performance. But he continued to maintain his innocence, insisting to ABC News Breakfast, it was a case of mistaken identity. That was his consistent line.
Yeah.
That's what he said. Mr. Watt, the ex-copper,
Mr. What?
Sorry, Mr. Dad.
Yeah.
Mr. Watt.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Dad.
Mr. Sir Dad.
Mr.
Dad.
Sir. Ugh,
Ugh.
I'm frightened.
So after he died, Mr. Watt, that cop, Mr. Watt, as in stole what, paid tribute to the man he came to regard as a mate, describing Mr. Carlson as larger than life with a big heart. It's a sad day for Australia as we've just lost a true colourful character. He had a very tough upbringing and life and was a product of his environment. And finally, this is from 9 News after he died. The Carlson family confirmed the death, saying he was surrounded by family. In a statement, the family said, he walked a full and colourful path, and despite the troubles thrown at him, he lived by his motto, to keep on laughing. Jack leaves daughter Heidi, his son Eric, his nieces Kim, Kelly and Kerry, and nephew Carl, grandchildren Terry, Lace and Neck, and many grandnieces and nephews behind.
Sorry.
What about Barbara?
Yeah, Barbara died of cancer, unfortunately.
Oh, it's sad.
And was one
And
of the...
Jim also. Jim died. I think Jim died in a fire.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Tragic.
just so much tragedy.
Was someone's name Neck?
Yeah, someone said
NEC? Did you pronounce that neck or netch?
Sure. Lace and neck.
Terry
Fabulous.
lace. Grandchildren Terry lace, which I guess is like a terry toweling style lace,
Yeah,
which I think would be beautiful.
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 Very soft.
Terry lace, beautiful name for a boy or girl. He will be sorely missed, the family said. His niece, Kim Edwards, revealed Mr. Carlson had just turned 82 last week and had spent the last few weeks of his life in hospital. He had a few attempts to escape and pulled his cords out a couple of times and asked us many times to sneak in his pipe. As a final send-off, we gave Uncle a taste of red wine through his drip just before it was removed. The documentary director, Heath Davis, said the doco team are heartbroken with the news of his death, calling him an icon. Jack lived a life unlike any other. In fact, he's such a larger-than-life figure who survived such adversity, it's hard to believe he's left us. Jack's inherent ability to always see the bright side of life despite the insurmountable hardship is something I'll carry forward with me in my own life. There really is only one Jack Carlson, and he truly was Australia's last larrikin. So that is my report on Mr. Democracy Manifest.
Wow.
And now we know the story.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I say, there's a lot more to it. Skipped over most of the grimmish stuff,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's still a lot of grim stuff in there.
Yeah, that's saying something because
Yeah,
it was
totally.
still
What a life.
pretty full-on life.
Yeah, but that the full title of Dapin's book gives you a bit more of an idea of what it's about. It's called Carnage, a succulent Chinese meal, Mr. Rent-A-Kill, and the Australian Manson murders.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think, and a lot of the reviews of people going, the cover, I thought it was going to be, the cover features a still from that famous video, and you think it's going to be maybe a bit lighter than it
Yeah.
ends up
Yeah,
being.
like a sort of fun romp through
Yeah.
Yeah.
Australia's underworld.
There you go. And which is what I thought it was going to be more like.
But it's actually full
prison
on.
escapes and these sort of fun things. But yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, what? Anyway, fascinating and
It sounds like it's still debated as to why the cameras were there, but
yeah.
we're thankful.
Oh,
that
my
they
God.
were there.
100%.
And it
What
must
a
have
legacy to leave.
It must have been so surprising to him that it's 1991, it's being filmed, and then 20 years later, it's on the internet. People are probably telling him, his kids and grandkids are probably like, holy shit, is this you?
Yeah.
Kind of,
Yeah.
Like, you'd be like, oh, yeah, that was a funny thing, like, in the life that he led. It's not like he
you
did
might
so much.
You'd forget about that.
Oh, yeah, I
or-
guess I did that. Like,
Yeah.
and it just changes your life 2 decades later. It's such a wild turn
Yeah.
of events.
Yeah, like there's, and I'll post some photos during the week, photos that I never saw that were featured in Dapin's book of Carlson on stage earlier in his life, and I just don't understand why haven't we seen more of it?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
And also, we should
The
say,
fact that he's on TV, why aren't these? Sure, if there are clips,
Yeah,
get
you've
it
got that
out.
archival footage.
But we should say, if you somehow have never seen the video, if you're overseas perhaps, or who knows, you've somehow never come across it, do yourself a favour.
Yeah.
Go to YouTube. I'm sure you'll probably link to it in the show notes
Yeah.
as well, the original, but type in Democracy Manifest or Succulent Chinese Meal.
Yeah.
I'm
and
under what?
you will enjoy. It's one of the greats.
You assured me that I could. I assured you of nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's short of anything.
You haven't been short of anything.
So
Please
funny.
get in the car.
Yeah, it's this little man.
Please.
Yeah.
Wow, good stuff, Maddie. What a story. So good to learn more about the man behind the video.
Yeah. I'm glad you were here for it, Bopper.
Yeah. Thanks
Because-
for saving it for me.
I don't know what the Celebrity Memoir Book Club would have made of it.
Yes, and I would have been a bit salty to have missed that one.
Yeah.
Whereas missing Hatshepsut, whatever.
Whatever.
I'm kidding. I've listened to that episode. It's great.
Yeah, and you're spot on, Jess. It was a great story and well told. Well, that brings us to everyone's favourite section of the show. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. That
Everyone.
includes Jess, Dave, and I.
Hello. I'm still here.
Dave, do you want to explain what happens here?
What we do here is we take a little bit of time to sort of shout out some of the people that support the show on patreon.com/dogoonpod, but also get them to contribute to the show by suggesting some things, giving some facts, some quotes, or questions, which we'll get to in a second. But there's also a bunch of other reasons you would want to sign up to the Patreon. Like we have 4 bonus episodes a month. Nearly every Sunday we'll put out a bonus episode, including a Dungeons and Dragons. We're about to start the new campaign this month.
Yeah.
Last season finished in June. New one's kicking off straight away this month in July, which is we've already recorded. It was so much fun. And we also put out bonus episodes, mini reports. I say mini, they're basically full-length reports, just without this section on the end of it. You can also get ad-free listening, so you don't get any of the ads. Hear about live shows before anyone else, get discount tickets, be part of the Facebook group, where it's a lovely corner of the internet. But first of all, we have the fact, quote, or question, Matt, where people submit a fact, quote, or a question or something like that. And I think it often has a jingle that sounds a little something like this.
Fact, quote, or question.
Bong. Hang on, no, it wasn't right, was it? Ding.
That kind of works, though, because then it could be like, he always remembers the bong, she always remembers the song.
Oh, okay,
That's
great.
actually great. And especially if you're doing it in the style of the Succulent Chinese Meal, man, that's perfect.
Bong.
But you just assured me that I could bong.
He's got a great vibrato on the bong.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
You assured me I could bong on. Yeah, so the way this works is, if you're on the Sydney Scheinberg level or above, you have to give us a fact, quote, or a question, or a brag, or a suggestion, or really whatever you like, and I'll read them out. But I'll read them out for the first time on the show. That is just to excuse me for the fact that I might stumble, I might fumble, and also they might have written something crook. But I won't know until the words are out of my mouth.
That's actually true.
The first one comes, and if it's left in AJ, the editor, he made that choice.
Yeah.
And it's taken full legal responsibility.
Correct.
So the first one comes from Chloe Morris. You also get to give yourself a title, and Chloe's title is, I'm not a pheasant plucker, I'm a pheasant plucker's son. And Chloe's offering a brag.
Well done there.
Writing, hey mates, Chloe here. Long-time listener, medium-time Patreon, and first-time fact, quote, or question.
Welcome, Chloe. How exciting.
And I'm here with a brag. Thank you. Brackets. Sorry in advance, it's long. I'm a midwife, and I've been qualified just over a year. Woo. Woo. When I qualified, I signed up to Patreon as a way to celebrate for myself and to say thank you to you guys for the pod. But I'm only just finding the right time now to submit this, though. I've now just progressed at work to being a fully fledged rather than newly qualified midwife, so it seemed like a good time to get my butt in gear and finally submit this brag to you guys about qualifying, but also as a thanks so much for all that you do. I started listening to the pod a couple of months before lockdown. This was excellent timing, as I had the whole back catalogue to keep me entertained.
Ah, nice.
However, it also meant you guys quickly became my firm favourite, and from then on, I have had the pod with me on the journey they call life, navigating challenges and successes alike. In short, I just want to say thank you so much for Do Go On. Really appreciate the effort you guys put in and all the behind-the-scenes stuff to create the wonderful end product. Keep going and being your amazing selves. Lots of love, Chloe. P.S. Shout out to my friend Esther, who introduced me to the pod, and my boyfriend Ben, who I have also indoctrinated to the Do Go On cult, and who is my other stalwart, second only to the pod.
Whoa.
Nice. It's us and Ben.
Congrats, Ben.
Congrats, Ben.
That's very nice. I mean, yeah, that's a little bit of a brag, but mostly you just spent most of the time being nice to us.
Yeah. That's a compliment masquerading as a brag.
More bragging. You should be very proud of yourself. That's
Yes.
very cool. Being a midwife is a really great job.
Yeah, midwives do fantastic work. Experienced them when my
Don't make
baby
this
was born
about you,
last
Dave.
year,
Let's not make
and,
this about you, mate. Okay.
Can I just say
Chloe,
that-
fantastic midwife.
Can I say
Yes.
Ben sounds fantastic.
And Chloe, say hi to your pheasant plucker dad.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to Chloe. And the second and final one this week comes from CJ Tour, aka that Jackbox / improv guy. You would have remembered me telling you about him.
Yeah.
Seeing his show in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
The
Absolutely.
Drunken Hitchcock, aka Hitchcock Tales. Anyway, CJ has a question writing, first, congratulations. I'm catching up with the pod as a father myself, and I want to congratulate Matt and Jess because I'm very proud of them. As a dad, it means more coming from me.
That's true.
CJ, it's so true. Dave's compliments in the last year have really started to mean something.
Yeah, because before I was like, shut up.
You're just wasting words.
Yeah, and now I'm like, hang on a second.
Feels good
So-
for me too. I like being listened to sometimes.
So here is the question for us. What type of dad are we? Spiritual, I mean. A sports dad, a barbecue dad, a nap dad, a daddy? Happy to be getting back into the pod. Cheers. Well, I like the sound of nap dad. Can I be a nap dad on the couch?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it your dad you talk about will fall asleep at family things on the armchair?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, all the time. And that was before he was diagnosed with sleep apnea.
Right.
He was just tired all the time.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, he still falls asleep everywhere.
Man,
It's very impressive. The
that's-
man can sleep.
That's like an old pop with a blanket over my legs.
Yeah,
And there's like chaos going around.
but you're just
But
asleep.
I'm nodding off under like an old knitted blanket.
Yeah, that's good.
Nap dad.
Nap dad. I think I'd be the kind of dad where people would say really patronizing things to me in cafes. Like, oh, are you babysitting? Or like stuff like that. That's my dream.
Yeah. Yeah, you look
Doing the bare minimum. I'd be a bare minimum dad.
you look uncomfortable doing it.
Yes. Yeah.
You
Oh,
definitely don't know birthdays and barely middle names.
absolutely. I saw a dad at a shopping centre the other day. 3 little girls and a baby that mum was breastfeeding, and he was sitting at the table of the food court on his phone, not engaging once.
Well,
He
you
was probably looking up for some tips,
No.
some fun games to play. in the food
potentially
court.
it was his first break because he'd been doing all the work up until that point. And he's finally got a minute to himself.
Yeah.
And yeah, here comes judgmental Jess.
No, I'm saying I'm aspirational. I'm saying that's the kind of dad I want to be. I'm praising him.
Oh, like you should.
He's living the dream.
It's a Fatboy Slim reference. Dave, what about you?
I think I'm already that dad that just described, so love
Deadbeat.
getting on my phone.
Deadbeat dad.
No, I'm more,
Disinterested dad.
no, maybe overly interested dad.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Too much.
Yeah.
Give us a bit of space,
Yeah,
dad.
whoa, Dad. I think I can put the doll's jacket on, okay?
I'm good.
I got this.
I got this.
As in, you're just not letting him do
Whoa. You might hurt yourself. Let me do it.
Whoa. That jacket doesn't go with her skirt.
Oh, what
Okay?
are we thinking?
Let's think about the palette.
Yeah, purple and blue.
Does Daddy need to get the colour wheel out again?
Whoa. Let's start with the outside of the puzzle. You know what? Let me do it.
Yeah, let me do it. You hold back.
I think I'd be a one of those dads who cries at everything. Really
Oh.
sentimental dad. Yeah.
Best
I've
dads.
become
Yeah.
Big fan of those dads.
Yeah, just burst into tears.
I remember seeing my dad cry once, and it felt weird.
Yeah.
It was at a funeral.
You
Yeah.
walk up to him and say,
I was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
you
Same.
walk up and said, stop that.
You went, what the fuck, Dad? Yeah, nah.
Cringe dad.
I think cry frequently.
Yeah.
Make you crying just something that your kids are like, oh, here he goes again.
Just started saying, like, we just never would say I love you, even though clearly we love each other.
Yeah.
But started saying it to the immediate family now that we're all well and truly adults. And we're working through it. Sort of like, what do you call that therapy where you
Yeah. Immersion.
immersion therapy?
Yeah.
You're immersing yourself in love.
Yeah. And it was awkward at first, but now, you know.
My brother
it
and
is
I
what
are
it is.
one and done. His wedding day, I said I love you. He said love you too. Then we laughed and that was it.
That's great.
And I think that was nice.
was that a
beautiful
love
moment.
that
That was
lasts
nice.
a lifetime?
Yeah.
He didn't say it at your wedding.
No.
I said it to him and he didn't respond.
Oh.
He walked away.
I
Come
kissed
back.
him on his
Hey,
head.
whoa. Did you hear what I said?
I grabbed him by his head and
His head.
I thought we were at that stage.
That's what
I
you did.
misread the situation.
The bride's brother. You got to kiss him on the head. We
It's
thought it was
tradition.
disrespectful. It's disrespectful not to do it.
You must kiss the bride's brother.
Yeah, in a real patronising way, even though he's slightly older than me. Hey,
Hey,
He is months older than you.
it's time for the kissy.
Slightly older. Look at him clutching.
wait, what would you call months? Slightly older than me. That's
Same age, I'd call that.
okay. Yeah, we came out at the same time.
Then again, I am slightly older than Dave.
Slightly.
What are we talking about? Oh, yes.
Dads.
What kind of dads we'd be?
I wish, but CJ, you forgot to do your own.
Yeah. Okay. Well, CJ's a proud dad.
Proud dad.
That's
proud
nice. Dad's a proud boy.
Not a proud boy, not yet a proud dad. All right, thank you so much to CJ and Chloe. Next thing we do, shout out to a few of our other great supporters. Jess, you normally come up with a bit of a game based on the title of the episode.
Obviously, Jack was, I was going to say diagnosed, arrested at a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
Where were these people arrested?
Oh, good one.
Yes.
Should
And what is the charge?
Should I look up location generator? Or do you think we could just
Please.
think of places ourselves?
I think location generator sounds good. Then we come up with the charge.
Yes.
First of all, unless there's a charge generator.
Location generator.
All right, Dave, do you want to do the charge? But he answered his own charge. What is the charge? Enjoying a meal. So I'll say the name, Jess does the place, and then you say, what is the charge? Enjoying it, and you riff off what
Okay.
the place. Do you reckon you're up to that?
Yep.
Because I know I've done 2 levels of improv classes about 10 years ago.
Yeah. Mate, that's paid for itself.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I could do it easy.
But what I need to tell you is that this year at the Comedy Festival, Sammy P and I did our show at the Improv Conspiracy.
Which is where I did my classes.
And there was an improv show after us every night. And I think that the magic sort of
seeped in.
rubbed off on
Yeah.
us, just being in the room.
Yeah. That's all it takes. Osmosis.
You're saying the improvs didn't rub off on you, do they? Is that what you mean?
Dave.
Dave, do you need to talk about something?
Dave, are you
We
okay?
should do this off mic.
No, I had a fantastic experience at that venue. It was really cool. It was really well run. It was great. So please, you're doing the location and the name?
Yes, I'll do location and the name.
Yep.
Jess is going to do the place that the arrest is happening,
Yep.
and you're...
So what's the location then?
Oh, sorry, I'm saying
Oh,
location, where they're
their
from.
location.
Sorry, just because you sometimes we split that up, but yeah.
Gotcha,
okay.
gotcha. Yes. And you're doing criminal charges. Is
Yeah,
that what's
I say,
happening?
what's the charge?
enjoying or
context.
whatever. Yes.
Okay, got it.
All right, here we go. First up from Carey in North Carolina, where Michael Jackson wore shorts under shorts. No, that's
Michael
not quite-
Jackson.
Where Michael Jordan...
I mean, Michael Jackson might have worn shorts under shorts in North Carolina. We don't know for sure.
We don't know for short. From Carey in North Carolina. Thank you, Shay.
Shay arrested at baseball park.
Ooh.
Baseball park.
Maybe stadium.
What's the charge? Stealing a foul ball? A beautiful foul ball? Is that what you were imagining?
Man, honestly, my imagination wouldn't have been that good.
No, yeah.
That is special.
Yeah.
How has he done that?
I don't know.
I told you.
He took baseball park and he found foul ball
He
in
actually
that.
transformed.
That was really
Here's
great.
what you forget. While you've done 2 levels of improv, which,
true.
again, paid for itself.
Yep.
It shows every day.
Yep.
100% a great investment. Dave did a drama degree. So he can also channel...
Paid for itself. I would argue that I spent many tens of thousands of dollars more than you on mine.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think we can agree that sometimes Dave goes into a character on this show and we lose Dave. And I think a little bit of that just happened. It was magic. It was beautiful to watch. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for being vulnerable and using the space.
Next up, and thank you, Shay.
Thank you, Shay.
Hopefully you're enjoying that foul ball. Next up, I'd love to thank from Berkeley, California, JD.
Arrested in a candy store.
What's the charge? Eating a red licorice strap? A sugary, sweet red licorice strap?
My God.
He's incredible. He's actually
I'm
incredible.
like, I thought the baseball, how's he going to top it?
I know.
And he has done that.
Sugary red strap.
Red strap.
Let's keep
strap.
it. Let's keep
Was
it
it
going.
licorice strap?
He's
Was it
incredible.
Next
Yes.
up from Address Unknown, can only assume from deep within the Fortress of the Mold. Please, Mold.
You
Fortress
don't want
of
to
the
be the
Mold.
Fortress of the Mold.
You don't want that.
That's an awful place to be.
I didn't think Fortress of the Moles was good, but Mold is
oh my
worse.
God. Just call in someone for that.
Please and thank you, Aiden. Surname starts with R, but hasn't written that in the thing, so.
Aiden has been arrested at the movie theatre.
At the movie theatre. What's the charge? Stealing a Star Wars themed novelty soft drink cup? A succulent. No, I shouldn't say succulent. I should say
Succulent cup.
a grossly overpriced Star Wars themed novelty soft drink cup.
I like it because this one that is a crime.
Stealing. Yeah. You said
Yes.
what's the crime? Stealing.
Yeah, that is the
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, correct.
Aiden was with a Y as well. If that helps make you understand who you are. mole man. Next up from Chicago, the Windy City, Illinois. Please and thank you, Katie Carney.
Katie, this is very appropriate for Chicago. Arrested in the desert.
Oh.
Oh my god. What's the charge? Eating some sand? Some nitty gritty, very dry sand.
Listeners, it's the end of our day and we're losing our
This
minds.
could be the end of our days.
That was good. That
That was good. Still topping it once after the other. From Columbus, Ohio, God's country itself. Please and thank you, Paige Cagioli.
Arrested in the lunchroom.
The lunchroom.
You're not giving him heaps to work with, but
The generator isn't giving him heaps to
Okay.
work with.
What's the charge? Stealing a second bonus slice of salami, a dried out, disgusting slice of salami.
you've got a specific lunchroom in your mind, I'm guessing there.
Yeah. I was thinking of a really shitty cafeteria where you've gone, fuck it, I'm getting an extra slice.
Gotcha.
From Canberra in the Australian Capital Territory, please and thank you, Alan Cashin and Brianna Gordon.
Both arrested in a barn.
In a barn. What's the charge? Stealing a cow? A beautiful big cow?
Stop saying stealing. I think the problem is you keep admitting to the crime.
The cops are like, yes, that's it.
You can say riding a cow or something.
Okay,
Loving
okay.
a cow.
Loving a cow.
Yeah,
Looking at a cow.
Enjoying the sight of a cow.
What's the charge? Milking a cow?
Yeah, that's good.
A
That's good.
delicious, big, beefy cow.
I mean, if you're on someone's property milking their cow,
Yeah,
then I think that
probably.
probably is a crime, but
But yeah.
trespassing.
Murdering a woman? Stop admitting to the crime.
From Bournemouth in maybe Dorchester
Dorchester.
in
Definitely
Great
sound
Britain.
like
It's Leah Hatton.
Arrested in a coffee shop.
Coffee shop. What's the charge? Eating a latte? Using a spoon to eat a latte? Just spooning it in.
It's really slow and it's gotten very cold.
From Leeds in Leeds, Great Britain. Please and thank you, Janice Lung.
Janice was arrested at the unemployment office.
What's the charge? Eating one of those tiny little pencils? Those little pencils you fill out forms with?
Why'd you eat a pencil?
Got hungry in the queue.
You're there a long time.
Those
That's
things take
fair.
ages.
That's fair.
I didn't bring fucking lunch.
From Lawrence in maybe Kansas in the United States, it's Aaron Gillespie.
Arrested on a college campus.
On a college campus. What's the charge? I was going to stealing again. Eating a Letterman jacket. The quarterback's Letterman jacket.
He's really stuck
He's
on
a moth.
eating.
Yeah.
He's a moth.
Well, you didn't like when I went to stealing something.
Well, no,
Everyone's
but it
fucking
could be
eating it.
anything else. If this guy was eating because he was at a restaurant,
Yeah, but-
this could just be anything you're doing on a college campus.
Okay, fine.
Playing frisbee,
Dreaming big.
getting an education, teaching a class. You could be doing all of those things.
No, I like eating a Letterman jacket.
Yeah, he's a moth. We get it. No, you're right.
Or finally, from address unknown, can only assume, deep within the fortress of the moles, please and thank you to Haley A.
Haley A. arrested on a yacht.
On a yacht.
Eating a mast.
Yeah. What's the charge? Eating a sangria? A delicious bottomless jug of sangria?
2 eating drink ones. Fantastic. Where does he get his ideas
He's
from?
very good.
I couldn't think of the word I should have said. Because I remember
Go again, AJ, I'll fix this up.
eating ceviche. A delicious uncooked cup of ceviche.
Ceviche. Dave, we were joking a few times in there, throwing things at you, but you nailed that.
That was incredible.
Top to bottom.
It's beautiful to watch you work.
And I've just realised I've accidentally done. I think I've given 10 names, so you did one more than
Oh,
normal.
my
oh,
gosh.
wow.
So for the listener at home, going, this feels like it's going longer than
Well,
normal.
it really felt like it took a long time for me too.
I think maybe Haley A has been thanked in a previous episode, but anyway, thanks again, Haley.
Hey, enjoy your sangria and your ceviche.
And that means we've only got one last thing to do, and that is to welcome some people into the Triptych Club. We've got 3 inductees this week. Dave, do you want to explain, while you're on a creative role, do you want to explain what's going on in here?
These people have been on the shout-out level or above for 3 consecutive years, so they've already had a shout-out like the one we just gave then. But we want to enshrine them forever. We want to welcome them into our Hall of Fame, our clubhouse. This is real theatre of the month
Do you
stuff.
say Hall of Fame?
Our Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well, once you're in, you can't get out. But people love our Hall of Fame. I haven't once.
I've had no complaints about
I
the Hall
haven't
of
had
Fame.
any complaints about my hole.
No.
People say, get me in the hole. And I say, all right, if you're 3
right.
consecutive years, you're in.
Come on in.
So what we do is we lift the velvet rope, you jump into the hole, and inside there's food, there's drink,
Yes.
there's fun things.
Yep.
Yes.
There's sometimes film
It's
festivals.
fun to be had in the hole.
Yes.
There's there's music. There's bands.
Somebody in the Patreon group was talking about how there's air hockey and ice hockey available and how there should be fire hockey. And I said, that
and
sounds
earth
great.
hockey.
But yes, but I can only assume that the fire will be too hot.
Oh, no.
Okay, great.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like field hockey is like earth hockey.
That's
so,
earth hockey. So we do, and these are all on tables.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's very true. Good point.
Yeah.
Whoever said that, fire hockey, I think that's going to be big.
I think that's next.
I think it's going to be real big.
But we are still completing some renos. So yeah, fire hockey, we'll see if we can upgrade the arcade.
And Jess, you did you suggest a drink, or is there fire hockey's
Fire
probably
hockey's
taking
actually-
most of your time this
It's
week?
the name of a cocktail.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah. I just set most drinks on fire.
Great.
It can be anything you want, but I am going to set it on fire.
What would your succulent Chinese cocktail be?
Well, I've got Chinese food.
Oh,
I've
great.
ordered in though.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a bit of sweet and sour. We got some egg rolls. We got some fried rice. We got some kung pao chicken.
Pow.
Yeah, we got the works. It's going to be pretty good.
I'm pumped. And Dave, have you booked a band? Is that fair
You're
to say?
never going to believe it. You'll never believe it. You mentioned them earlier. I couldn't believe it. I've been speaking to their manager for a long time because they're often out on the road. They do a lot of shows, these guys. But the Chats are here.
Oh,
Whoa.
Chats,
fantastic!
and they have promised to play their song Dine and Dash at least twice.
Maybe Smoko?
You'll have Smoko and also Pub Feed.
Oh,
Yeah, great.
all I want, all I need.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Good pub feed.
look forward to that. Yeah, they're just they're about to head out the road to Europe, but we got them just in time.
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
a
warm-up
warm-up
show,
show,
but
yeah.
like obviously it's intimate, so it's fine.
Oh,
I love
yeah.
it. The warm-up shows are the best. They're loose. They're having fun. They're figuring it out. Big fan. All right. And I'm just having a look. We are still doing renovations on our triple Triptych Club, which our first guest is still scheduled to be Adam Stoltz in November.
Wow. Do you reckon
Right.
Adam stop? Because you're the first one in, Adam. Are you still standing, waiting in line, or are you still just enjoying the facilities, knowing you're going to be called upon? What do you reckon? Just
Yeah, I reckon chill out.
You don't
Stop
have to hover.
hovering by
Yeah.
the...
Hey.
Because it's also getting in the way of the tradies. They're finding it weird. They've made a couple of comments of like, could you get that guy to stop just hovering at the fence?
Big time. Yeah.
Just relax. We'll let you know when it's ready.
They don't work faster when they're being watched.
No.
No one likes
People rarely do.
So are we ready to read out some names?
Yep.
All right. Here we go. 3 inductees this week. If you hear your name, I'll lift up the velvet rope. You run on in. Dave's on the stage. He's hyping up the 1,000-odd people
That's
already
right,
in
but
there.
you got to jump into the hole when you hear your name.
Of course.
He'll hype you up with a bit of softish wordplay, punnery and whatnot. And Jess will then hype up Dave because he's in this theatre of the mind somehow. He's playing a guy with low confidence, which
That's
is
right.
really against type, and again shows what a great actor he is. So 3 names. Are you ready, Dave?
I'm so ready.
Please and thank you and welcome into the Triptych Club from Ottawa in the United States, in Illinois. I think it's Nate B.
Nate B, he's my matey.
Woo!
So open
We
on-
are pirates.
Nate B, welcome here or something like that. But if you want to have another go, but you don't have to.
His was perfect.
He's my matey.
That's
I thought
good
pretty
stuff.
good. I thought Ryan was
Like
probably my favourite.
pirates.
Yeah.
Matey.
Yar.
Shut up.
Oh, I didn't get it.
Well, yeah,
That's actually really
fucking
clever.
very apparent.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Dave, I didn't get it.
That's
Great.
incredibly apparent you didn't get it. It's too highbrow a joke for you. Sorry about him, Dave.
I'm so sorry about me, Dave. Next up from Address Unknown, can only assume from deep within the fortress of the moles, please. And thank you and welcome, Jason Armitage.
I wish you knew Armitage. Jason Armitage.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Shanks you very much. Armitage Shanks.
Armitage
the
Shanks.
Toilet brand.
Yeah, that was my first thought, and I thought, that's rubbish.
Why do you keep ruining the flow?
And finally from Dundee in, I believe, in Scotland, maybe home of the Stewart's Dundee Decanter Scotch. Please and thank you and welcome, Robbie Proctor.
Smarter than a doctor, he's Robbie Proctor.
What do you got for that, smartass?
I was thinking something about Goody Proctor or something, but I think Doctor's really good.
Yeah, Goody Proctor's
Goody.
good.
Yeah, I would have said something like, he's a real goody. Robbie's a real goody, Proctor. Thank you and welcome in Robbie, Jason and Nate. There's a reason why I've never been asked to do it. You know, I try to put my hand up. I say, look, here if you need.
Yeah, because you're a real flow killer.
Yeah.
It's true. It's so true.
That's my Flow Rider cover tribute act name. Well, that brings to the episode. That is just Bob Perkins.
Just that we love them, and if you want to suggest a topic, there's a link in the show notes, or you can go to our website, which is dogoonpod.com, where you can also find information about live shows we have coming up and the other podcasts that we do. And you can find us on social media, Do Go On Pod or Do Go On Podcast on TikTok.
Yes.
Like and subscribe.
We love you.
Boot this baby home, Dave.
Until next week, thank you so much for listening. And until then, it's goodbye.
Laters!
What is the charge? Eating a meal? Succulent Chinese Meal? Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest.
That was beautiful.
Have a look at the headlock here. See that chap over here? Get your hands off my penis! This is the bloke who got me in the penis before.
Hop in the car.
Why did you do this to me?
Hop in the car.
For what reason? What is the charge?
Eating a meal?
A succulent Chinese meal?
Just his, yeah, man, it's very good stuff.
Everything about it is so fucking good.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
God, I love it. I love it so much.
And the whole story, I was worried at times. I'm like, am I going to ruin people's enjoyment of this story with all the sadness surrounding it?
No, because I just watched it and still
So
good.
enjoyed it. Okay.
Yeah.
Still really good.
Still got it.
Still got it.
A happy place comes in many colors. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters, that's painting happy. During our spring sales event, special offers are available through April 30th. Schedule your home painting project today and bring happiness home. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
It already feels like home.
Don't forget to sign up to our tour mailing list so we know where in the world you are and we can come and tell you when we're coming there.
Wherever we go, we always hear 6 months later, oh, you should come to Manchester. We were just in Manchester.
We're just there, but this way you'll never miss out. And don't forget to sign up, go to our Instagram, click our link tree. Very, very easy.
It means we know to come to you, and you'll also know that we're coming to you.
Yeah, we'll come to you, you come to us. Very good.
And we give you a spam-free guarantee.